All right, I think we can start. Good afternoon to people in Bandung, Jakarta, and ASEAN. Good morning to Charles and people joining in from UK and Europe. Thank you for joining us early in the morning. And to people joining in from the Southern Hemisphere, good evening to you. Welcome to the Placemaker e-Weekend ASEAN, featuring Bandung Jalan Jajan Urban Game. Thank you for spending your Saturday with us. It is good to see you all online today. My name is Mary Kilo Alexander. I am a research assistant at National University of Singapore, and I am pleased to be your moderator today. Today's event is the second regional Placemaker Week event in ASEAN. The first Placemaker Week ASEAN was held in Kuala Lumpur last year. The theme of our event this year is sneaking and snacking in the city. This theme was inspired by the love that many people in ASEAN have, including me, towards the local street food and traditional snacks. So as the name suggests, there are two parts to this event. We will begin with a set of placemaking talks presenting case studies from Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Myanmar, and Singapore. And on the second part, we invite you to join our virtual urban game, Jalan Jajan. The placemaking talks will go on one after another, which means that we are not stopping in between presenters to take questions, but there's going to be a Q&A session after the last speaker presents. So if you have questions at any point of the presentations, please type them down in the chat box below. Okay, now I will hand over to Tita Rasati, who will welcome us in an opening address. Tita is the chairperson of Bandung Creative City Forum, which is the organizer of this event. She is also a lecturer and researcher at Institute Teknologi Bandung. She co-founded Bandung Creative City Forum in 2008, and in 2015, she co-founded Indonesia Creative Cities Network, in which she currently holds the position of Deputy of Strategic Partnership. She also chairs Bandung Creative Economy Committee, which is next to being Bandung focal point for UNESCO Creative Cities Network. Besides that, she is also an advisor for West Java Creative Economy and Innovation Committee, and a member of the International Advisory Council for Creative Industries Policy and Evidence Center, or PEC in the UK. And in her spare time, I am actually surprised that she has any. She's very busy. In her spare time, she creates and publishes her graphic diary, which I'm a big fan of. Now let us welcome Tita to our virtual stage with the opening address to the Placemaker e-Weekend ASEAN 2020. Tita?
Yeah, thank you, Meriki. That's very nice of you to have a complete introduction of me. So yeah, concerning this event, this Placemaker, actually, this is a part of Helar Fest, which is the one of BCCF main programs, signature programs. And concerning Placemaker, actually, I'm familiar with the term itself when I was invited last year to be one of the speakers in Placemaker Week ASEAN in Kuala Lumpur, because we've been, of course, in touch with, for example, Think City, with Daniel here, and then with Japing, which is now in Tempatico, and so on. And I didn't know actually that whatever the activity is in interventing public space and all is called Placemaker. So I have a lot to learn still concerning these things. But then I'm very grateful that now I have a new network concerning this subject as well. And as far as BCCF go, usually, sorry, I have a problem with moving on to the next slide, but okay, because we see the city as an organic entity. So the city It's like a human body. It has a center of thinking, it has center of breathing, and also waste, and also distributions of nutrition, and so on and so on. And if we see the city as so we thought that if we do a bit of intervention to some parts that are ailing or something is broken, then we can put bit by bit our needle of creativity in order to make things better. But if we do it although small, but then with right impact, and then we do it consistently and repeatedly, we hope that the part will heal, same as the human body. So that's how we do our intervention in the city with BCCF, with Bandung Creative City Forum. And if I can move on to the next slide. This is part of some prototypes that we did in Bandung Creative City Forum. And we always thought it's an urban scale prototype in order to show either the government or the fellow inhabitants of the city that the city can work better if we do so and so. And as prototypes go, some prototypes stay for maybe a week or 2 weeks or a month. Some stays forever, but at least people have the experience of the city, or a space in the city which can accommodate their needs better, which can really be an expression of people living in the city the way they like it. So lately, we also did the intervention, not only physically, but also through intangible interventions such as urban games. And if I can move to the next slide, actually, there are lots of urban games that we have done involving either children or youth or even organizations in the cities and so on. And this. So sometimes we use very simple devices, just like a checklist or booklet. Sometimes we do it with application. But our main aim is to make these young people realize that there are lots of other places in the city that they might not discover unless they do this kind of games. And if they do this, then they can have impact to the surrounding area and to the local inhabitants. And so this Jalan Jajan it came about with the purpose of introducing Bandung through the heritage of the food, to the habit of the people, to the characteristic of the kind of food you can find in certain places only, and so on. And in that way, the empathy to the city came from the things that you love most, which is the food and the food culture. So with this, I'm very excited that this year we have the chance to do the Jalan Jajan in a hybrid manner, which is usually we do it directly. So we visit this local establishment in person and really taste their food. But this time, because of the situation that's very challenging now, we do it, or we are experimenting in doing it this kind with this manner. So we have virtual meetings, and for that we still want to get the fun out of it, although the experience is different. Of course, it's not the same because you cannot smell, you cannot touch, you're losing some of the texture of the food and so on. But at least we hope that we can give the same impact and the same impression. And we just hope that we can have fun all along this event. So yeah, I'm very excited to have all of you here, my old friends and my old colleagues and so on from all over Asia and other part of the world. And please enjoy the event. I hope that these 2 days will give you insights on how Bandung is through the food, and also we can share, exchange experience as what similar things are happening in all over the world. Thank you, Meriki. Go back to you.
Thank you, Tita, for setting the context. Now we have seen how Bandung is, and we have got a little sneak peek of Jalan Jajan that we are going to experience today. Next, we are very pleased to welcome our keynote speaker, Charles Landry from the United Kingdom. Charles Landry is an international authority on the use of imagination and creativity in urban change, and has written many books. He invented the concept of the creative city in the late 1980s. Its focus is how cities can create the enabling conditions for people and organizations to think, plan, and act with imagination to solve problems and develop opportunities. The notion has become a global movement and changed the way cities thought about their capabilities and resources. Most recently, He developed the notion of the creative bureaucracy, and an annual festival has taken place since 2018. We are very lucky to have Charles Landry with us today to share his expert opinion on placemaking. Let us welcome Charles Landry.
Well, hello. Yes, I wish I was eating with you. That would be fantastic. And it's very early here and I would be eating breakfast with you. But anyway, that will be next time. So I want to go through a little tour. So what is the future? Well, we don't know what the future is, but one thing we do know is that we need to recapture our playfulness. And our playfulness is, of course, more than sitting in a pachinko parlor in Japan. It's certainly more than that. It's more than just buying a big balloon and walking down the street. It's more than just having one of these nice urban actors say hi to you, who you give a bit of money to, or here in Edinburgh at the Edinburgh Festival. All of that's great, but I think there's a bigger story. And it's even more than this is in Bilbao, the annual festival, which is particularly mad sometimes, but also interesting. And it's more than just playing for music instruments in the street. The big issue, as we all know, is that we need to wake up, and the pandemic has made us wake up. It's made us really realize what really matters. I'll use the word really a few more times. And it's shown us also how fragile the world is in which we're in, and everything can break apart very easily. And in fact, like this graffiti in Tel Aviv shows us, it's nearly, or it is perhaps 1 minute before midnight in many of the issues we need to tackle. For example, obviously climate change, but also how we live together in relative harmony. And one of the things, this is a German word which means anxiety and fear. We still, though, I think, have fear of really thinking afresh. Utopias doesn't need to be a perfect utopia, but we should still look forward and see how we can do things differently. It's more too, I think, than playing with children. Of course, what we're trying to do is to recover that openness that so often one finds when one's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then as you get to 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, you seem to often lose that playfulness. But it's also an urban process, and that's what's so great about the core idea. And it's creating a shared view of where we go and how we can get there. Let's call it a vision and ambition and so on. And so therefore, although we still want children to be able to play in the streets, we still want to record, this is in Copenhagen, immigrant kids being projected into a very deprived area. It's more than all of that, but it includes these things, of course, centrally too. It's essentially about how we in place, in public space, how we come together and do things together. So what is this plan B? What is the next step? How can we think about this? And I think it's very good to sort of think and feel and sense the city through, as Tita mentioned earlier, through the sensory landscape, every method of perception we have, looking, feeling, smelling, touching, and so on. It's these visceral things that we really want in a city. So doing this may be a process like sitting round and playing a game like these people in Berlin who are thinking about whatever the future is of their little neighborhood, or it may be here like in Rotterdam, immigrants and Rotterdammers meeting, and I don't know what they're doing, but I think they're having a very good chat. It's called Meeting on the Maas. But what it is also about is, and this was an interesting architect, Nigel, what was his name, Cartledge in the UK, who with people said, let's take some ordinary elements we have around us, you know, knitting needles and biros and pieces of little toys, and let's imagine what the places we have could be and should be, perhaps. Some of that is a bit bizarre, but why not? It makes no difference, because at least we're imagining the implications of what we're saying. But there are often kids involved, and that's great. This is Puebla in Mexico in their big smart city conference, where UN Habitat organized a whole day with younger kids to create out of these boxes the cities they wanted. And it was so interesting, the difference between girls and boys. As you can imagine, the boys built more skyscrapers and the girls more hospitals. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It was wonderful to see this creativity in action. But also, I remember NDSM that Sienna, one of our speakers from STIPO later, will talk about, which is in Amsterdam, as a big area. And I looked many years ago at the rule book, and you thought, oh yeah, they're trying to just develop this in an ordinary way. And then the next picture was this. They said to the development community, think of it like this. And of course, this is a very different conception of what a city could be like than the ordinary ones that is initiated by the real estate development community. And here, you will know this, there's an organization called Playable Cities in Bristol, very near where I am, and they do all sorts of reimagining how you see and feel spaces in a city. And this happens to be called the shadowing game. But there are many other games, and I'm so pleased you're doing many games in this whole Hela festival. But to go back to food, which is one of your big things, one of the biggest little inspirations stroke provocations was when about 6 years ago in Helsinki, some local activists said, it's so difficult to open a restaurant. We can't do it. There's so many rules and regulations. And through social media, suddenly on a day, 15 restaurants opened in the street, just informal, just anyone got out and got tables. And the mayor said initially, this is forbidden. But then he looked at the vision of Helsinki and it said words like vital, vibrant, all of these sorts of words, and said, well, isn't that what we want? And so shifted the rules so that was more possible. And this is one of the many inspirations that has developed around the world, and many people have copied this. So one of the things I suppose we can say then, therefore, and it was said earlier that the city is an organism. Yes, and it's an organism. And to some extent, it's also a canvas, but it's also a communications device, because as we experience the city in every sense that we have, it's communicating to us. And I wrote a little book called The Psychology and the City, which said in one sentence, we affect the city and the city affects us. So if we don't see these inspirations in a city, it, I suppose, draws us in and makes us feel less interested, less alert, less alive. And one of the methods of all of this work we're talking about, of playfulness, is to some extent to free the mind. So you could call that a method. And the challenge, of course, is making so often the invisible visible. And many of the things that are fantastic about cities are completely unseen. So we have to use the city as a communications canvas. Now, you all know that Playful Cities, the core idea, is to some extent to provoke, but to storytell, but to also, of course, do things in reality. I appreciate that. But it's also about sparking and catalyzing the way we do things, and to open our imagination about what can be, to prefigure the future that we hope to have. And it's also, of course, being more inclusive in a number of ways, widening the audiences that are involved in shaping, making, and co-creating the city. So that getting the wider audiences is one of the most important aspects of collective city making as a whole. So there we are. Here are just some examples of provoking and storytelling, and you will have many others yourself. But I like it when people, this is in Perth in Australia, simply keep a sign up and say, do you believe in reincarnation? Well, I suppose I do believe in reincarnation of some sort. Or they might say, like here in Genoa, and I saw there were lots of signs in this old part of the city, and it kept on saying una altra storia, which just means basically, is there another story? Is there another story we can create about this emerging, developing place? Or, of course, graffiti is helpful. This is again in Tel Aviv, culture is not our operating system. And so much of what we're talking about is digging deep into the cultural fabric of a place and trying to uncover it, because we all know that if you go with the grain of your existing culture, you're more likely, A, to be appreciated, but B, to be willing to change in a way that seems good for your evolving place. But of course, in city making, the cultural thinking approach and cultural literacy is not normally seen as the predominant approach to thinking through planning and acting. I, of course, like many of you here, think that this is one of the key ways of looking at city making. And I've always been struck how graffiti, in a sense, encapsulate, or the best of graffiti, the situation as is in real time. And I remember seeing this in Liège in Belgium, and it said, capitalism is chaos, anarchy is order. And in a way, that's a beautiful provocation to remind us what is right, what are our ethics, what is our morality in terms of how we want our cities to develop. And for a while in London, there was a whole series of very structured graffitis, which many of you will have seen, which said words like anti what? That's an interesting provocation. What am I against? And therefore also, what am I for? Or here when it said exciting, but also it said then it's scary. So lots of these processes are exciting and scary because we're also often challenging the existing interests and so on. But that, I think, is one of the key things we sometimes need to do. And I found this particular, let's call it an urban action, an urban provocation, an urban game, if you like, which was in Bilbao in front of the Guggenheim, where suddenly this group of people arrived and were protesting against bullfighting. So that you could call it a game, but you could call it something more serious. Or the famous Spencer Tunick, who gets lots of people, encourages people to just be naked in public space. And it's astonishing when he does his projects, there are so many people who want to be naked that he sometimes has to say, no, I've got too many already. I've got 1,000 of them. But each of them is here in this instance is really saying, what is our core humanity? We are essentially the same. There is more that we share than divides us. And these things are very important in an age which is turning to its darker face that we all know of divisions between different people. But I love this project in Tianan in Taiwan, the southern Taiwan, where a developer or the city had knocked down all the houses, or was trying to knock down all the houses to widen a street and basically put a motorway through a community. And the community activists stopped it. And what they then did is they painted back the buildings that had been destroyed, half destroyed, because they only were able to stop it at a half moment. And of course, that then became the meeting place for people to sit and drink and eat in front of these half destroyed buildings that were painted back. So it's interesting how we can do these things. Here's another example from Slovakia, Kozice, where a group of people, and this is a typical communist set of housing estates, where someone said, asked these buildings, can I build the old houses you destroyed on the top of your current building? Everyone said that's crazy, except for this one building there. So they built the house that was destroyed and all this area that was destroyed. They put it on top of the roof. Unfortunately, they took it down after 3 years, but I think it's an amazingly emblematic example of being, in this sense, I suppose, architecturally playful. And of course, here's another Taiwanese example where they set up this screen where people would walk past just normally doing their thing. But you then saw this through this panopticon. And you could say here, lots of people leave their city when the city is not interesting. How do you create the conditions to help them turn back? So you can see there are many ways of playing. This was an example from the UK where there was this sign which said more, normally it says no ball games. They just put this sign up and said more ball games. And the garage there, which normally says this garage is in constant use, they changed it to this goal is in constant use. Or here in Tasmania, someone simply tried to change the stop signs to get us to rethink what a sign could be. And here's an interesting example from Pittsburgh. Lots of American cities are just full of roads. And what people did as an experiment, just they wandered around and said, okay, this suddenly happened in the street. It was suddenly changing everything. And people thought, what's happening here? And then suddenly she started looking at you. I think this is quite interesting to think of how you can change that. And it's easier to do it through light in the night to this. And here you have this observant woman. This is, by the way, where Andy Warhol was born. So perhaps that's an image of Marilyn Monroe. I don't know if it's her eyes. And then, of course, Tirana. You remember Eddie Rama, the mayor of Tirana. He said, look, I can't deal with all the problems of the city. There's so much. But what I can do is externally shape it. And he painted, I think about 800, well, is it 800, 500 buildings? It doesn't matter. But it was a lot of them. And one of them I always liked, and which is really this one. And it's also the way to the airport. And I'm always asked myself, are we sure which way is it to the airport? And here we see it's that way. It's right to the airport. So you can use, in this case, it's, visual arts to change the perception. Or here in Zurich, Zurich West is the sort of hip area where, Amazon and Google is moving in and they destroyed all the houses and et cetera, and built a Renaissance hotel. And then an artist said, okay, I'm not going to let you tear down my house. And in the same typeface, put resistance. And so what's interesting about this is the core element of the developing city, that idea of gentrification and how one needs to manage things. So many things that one makes vital through food or whatever other things, then can turn into the negative. And this is a lovely manifestations of that dilemma, Renaissance and resistance. And here, many of you will know, particularly our Dutch colleagues, is the We Make the City event in Amsterdam that's happened for several years. And in a sense, when they finished up, they sometimes have all these placards and stuff like that, and these banners. In a way, you could say this is playful too. It's playful in the sense that they're all standing there and it says all the words that I believe we think we like, a city with us, by us, for us, and so on. Obviously safer, more inclusive, all of these words. So, and then finally, on this example set, I like this woman I met in Frankfurt. She was Indian and she said, free hugs. Eine Umarmung, would you like a hug? And I wanted to take a photo of her and I thought, my God, how can I do it? I must give her a hug. So I was blushing and I hugged her. And she said, you can take a photo. So is this a game or is this serious? So I will give all of you who happen to be watching free hugs, but they're only virtual, unfortunately. But I like this example again in Australia, which was a bit strange. And I don't know if this is a game or the person who was painting the road was just being a bit lazy. So I prefer to think that the person who was painting the road thought, no, I will not move the tree. I will make that little twist. And that even on a straight line, having a little extra element gets you to think. And when you bring all of this together, it's quite interesting. There was an interesting project I was part of in Toronto, in Canada, where we were really talking about how all that works vis-a-vis the administration, but it also in other sectors too, the corporate sector, the civic sector, where we so often are in our own boxes. And I was in one of these boxes and I was talking. And I thought, Christ, I don't want to be in this box. I want to liberate myself and think, create and co-create and collaborate. And the extreme of this collaboration in this event was that some of the people then walked around naked with their box on their head. Anyway, let's move on. And so you could also have examples which you could call of seeing differently. And this is very familiar, but I still think it's very interesting. I remember in Paris that there was a building which was being built behind this and restored. And this was what they put outside, a kind of surrealist liquid city element. And here, this would again be familiar. René Magritte is just sort of imagining what the raindrops would be. Now, unfortunately, these things mostly are just temporary, and sometimes it should remain temporary, but it always triggers the imagination when it's done well about what could be. And this was, I thought, very interesting as a whole a series about public health.
Wow, is this a toilet?
Yes, this is Toilet World. And just imagining basically that this is an important thing about sanitation and public health. Here, of course, very familiar is Anish Kapoor's Millennium Park sculpture. You remember it, Cloud Gate. And then when you're underneath it, you just hear it all, not hear it all, you see it all, you know, you just suddenly, as you're standing there.
Hello.
Yes. And if you look at this as a collective image of all of them. And here, another part of it. Could the person who's got their sound on turn it off, please? And here is the other sculpture by Shimi. And what happens here is now 3,000 people from Chicago suddenly appear in the public square, and they recognize themselves. And suddenly there is water that squirts out, and in the daytime there are hundreds of children playing and so on. But you can do it all in more in a structured way as well. This happens to be in the Venice Biennale. But again, as you walk through these spots, suddenly they change and you are navigating space in a completely different way. As you walk from one area to the next, it might become blue, it might become red. And so it again sparks the imagination. And indeed, the cafe at the time, which won the award, was itself an immersive experience. And locally, a friend of mine who happens to be staying with me today, he's a public artist, every 3 weeks he puts out some sign outside his house, and he turned lockdown into luckdown. We're in lockdown in the UK at the moment. But before that, you know, he had dyslexia, and lots of people loved this because they said, I'm dyslexic. Thank God you're recognizing me. My God, I can't even read my text. And this was very provocative. Is this an anatomical part or or is it just a provocation? And there was a survey. The police wanted to shut it down, and the survey of about 200 people said, yes, let's keep it. 80% said yes. And so the latest one at the moment happens to be thanks. He thinks that's a bit boring, so he's going to change that tomorrow. So it could be obviously other forms of public art. It could be provocations by letting a balloon suddenly arrive in the middle of nowhere. It could be a sign which says, please wait here, until you are useful. Okay, let's hope we're all useful. But I even think if one's being more serious, and I think playfulness should be serious, or serious playfulness, this is in Umeå, in an Arctic place in Sweden, where the light company developed a light. It's all Wi-Fi enabled, but it's very cold. So they put heaters on the top so that when you sit there, you can at least be warm. It looks a bit crazy, but I think it's quite interesting. So in sum, what I'm saying is, as we're thinking all of these issues through, this is a sign that was in the Danish Design Center once, which said, be best, not in, but for the world. And the first sentence of, I've taken that up, adapted it myself. My first sentence of The Art of City Making, I'd said, be creative, but don't try to be the most creative city in the world, but the most creative city for the world. So I copied that idea myself. And so much of what we're talking about is beyond the self. It's about us together, the me and we together. So thank you very much. It's been great being with you here this morning.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you for the very inspiring talk. We have learned so much from Pittsburgh to Zurich to Taiwan to Bilbao and to Toronto and many other places. It was very inspiring. Next.
No, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for sharing.
So I'll see you all during the day.
Hope so. Next, we are very pleased to welcome our second speaker, Daniel Lim from Malaysia. Daniel Lim leads the placemaking practice for Think City, which is a Malaysia-based social purpose organization that aims to make cities people-friendly and resilient by being a catalyst for change in the way cities are planned, curated, developed, and celebrated. He has spent the last 9 years pioneering programs to conserve, restore, or rejuvenate spaces through placemaking and space activation in Georgetown World Heritage Site, Kuala Lumpur, and Johor Bahru. Today, Daniel is going to give us a very inspiring presentation on the topic of food and the city. Please welcome Daniel.
Thanks, Mariki. And thanks, Charles, for your very good opening. I think it sets the context. 2 points I would like to pick from that is actually, it's interesting how you talk about cities as a communication device. And I think that is it's a meaningful thing to think about when we talk about placemaking, especially that. And when we talk about communication, it could mean a lot of things, right? So I'll start. I'm Daniel. I'm based in KL. But I'm actually originally from the Penang Island. And the reason I brought this up is that the topic of the conference is actually sneaking and snacking. And I would like to focus on snacking, which is food. Coming from Penang, food is a religion in Penang. For those of you who have visited Penang before, well, we would like to claim still that we do have one of the best place for all the good food to be together. So I'll start. I work for Think City. It's a social purpose organization looking at city rejuvenation, looking at how cities are celebrated, curated, managed, or even planned. So the very key process in what we do is that we are very community oriented and also evidence-based approach. So as I mentioned just now, I want to focus more about food. And I think in Southeast Asia or anywhere in the world, food is a very important culture or a very important identity to everybody, no matter regardless what race you're from, what religion, what country, there's always food that actually represents a certain culture or certain identity. So food, as echoing that, food is actually an interpretation on culture, right? What you eat, how's the setting, the environment around food actually defines. It actually can be interpreted in how we live our daily life. It can be interpreted depending on the ingredients, where you are from, what's available, and also how food has been used as something that cuts across different languages barriers, cultural barriers, racist barriers, etc. So food is a very important interpretation of culture. And food brings people around, right? Together, and no matter where you go, right? Food, there's always food revolving around food. So, for example, if you go to any Southeast Asia or even in Malaysia, the first question people ask is not how you doing, it's like, have you eaten? So I think food is a very important, well, you can say a tool or culture or tradition that brings people together. And it's not only in Asia, but I think if you go, I use the Italian as an example. The living hall is actually in the kitchen rather than the living hall, and that's where people socialize around food. So food is very important because it brings people together. So because food is such a culture or something that brings people together, it's very important in placemaking for us to understand food, because as an identity is also about inclusiveness. So understanding the culture of food, what does it represent, etc. But because it's able to bring people together, it's a very good tool for placemaking. And also because of the culture interpretation, it's a good culture mapping exercise as well. Here I got two examples of the project that we recently did in Malaysia, in KL and Johor Bahru. And we did this through a very community-based process where all these street food or restaurant, etc., the process that get them to actually identify what are the places of interest, where the eateries and all to be put into a map. And using this as a tool, we also get the public to actually contribute to the culture mapping. So people are able to identify what are the places, where are the nice places to eat, etc. And that is a good documentation, but at the same time, it's also celebrating the food culture, for example, in KL, in downtown KL, or in Johor Bahru as well. So, look at food trails like this are very good culture mapping exercise. And by doing that, you are also celebrating the street food, the restaurant, the eatery, and that actually gives them a stronger sense of community and a stronger sense of place. So another thing is because food is a good tool for placemaking, so it revolves around market, the ingredients of food. And in Asia, wherever we go to market, you'll see this is where all the people come together, and then they have breakfast. Community is a community anchor, so it's very important to look at markets as community anchor. Then they are usually a very good platform to start a placemaking initiatives, and that's where you get people are more open to participate in the process. So this is something we did in a downtown KL. It's one of the very last wet market that still exists in downtown KL. And we did the festival to celebrate this, but more importantly was to get feedback from the vendors, traders, and the people who come here to see how do we improve the area. So using market and food as a tool, we are able to get people's feedback, participatory process in the placemaking approach. Another example to share was a project that when I was still in Penang, a project that we did. So we managed a public grants in Penang, and that's where Think City started. And one of the project was actually a grant to document the Jawi Peranakan food. So on your left, you could see was a Feast of Penang book was produced to that. And subsequently from that, we actually worked with the author and the surrounding community and created a food festival where all the families, the mothers, the grandmothers, they come out and they celebrate their secret recipes, they cook, and they showcase their food. And this was very important because it was showcasing not just food, but the community identity. So this was the Jawi Peranakan, the Lebo Aceh area, and a lot of all these families that came out. It was a great get together, and again, the community identity was celebrated and strengthened. And subsequent to that, the grantee actually opened a restaurant that now serves the Jawi Peranakan food as per the recipes in the book. So it also shows that how food as an as an underlying spine is able to spin off all these different type of activation and projects as well. And of course, with all these pandemic happening and all, we can't really go, there's social distancing, physical distancing, and all these mappings that's been done in a conventional way have to be changed, right? So now we are talking about digital placemaking, and it's not something new. It's something that in the placemaking world has been discussed for the last couple of years. But what's new? What's more cutting edge from that, right? So one of the idea was to create a online platform to be able to do cultural mapping, where we're able to crowdsource informations and data, etc., and then using that same platform to celebrate them. And with the whole pandemic happening now, one great example that it's not from Ting City, it's by a Tiger Beer company in Malaysia, and it was great because what is digital placemaking, right? And I think this is one way of dealing with it. So this is a street food virtual festival where you're able to go into a street, virtually, communicate and respond with each other. But what's cool was you're able to actually order food, and then it goes straight to the platform where it delivers to you. So you are not physically socializing, but you are still actually virtually socializing with each other with real food and drinks that been delivered to you. So I'll end my presentation there. With that, I just think this is a good example for everyone to think about how are we evolving or adapting to this, to the whole pandemic and the new era of digitalization when we talk about placemaking. It's physical distancing, but not necessarily social distancing if we use the right tools. Thanks.
Thank you, Daniel. That was very inspiring, and I love Penang food. So I'm feeling hungry just looking at your presentation. That is very good. As Daniel said, that we usually greet each other by saying that "Have you eaten?" instead of "How are you?" So I forgot to ask you, have you eaten? Sudah makan?
Yes, we are. Yes, it's past lunchtime now.
All right. So next we are going to welcome our third speaker, Jill Karungay from the Philippines. Sorry. Jill Karungay is a multi-awarded creative entrepreneur, design advocate, and community crusader who is passionate about creativity and sustainability. Although primarily from the private sector, he has consulted with various levels of the Philippine government, the United Nations, civic organizations, and business support associations. He is currently the focal point of Cebu UNESCO City Design and a commissioner of the Cebu City Tourism Commission. Unfortunately, Joe, as we know, he's very busy. He has another presentation with UNESCO today, but he has sent me the video, so I'm just going to share Jill's video now.
Hey guys, good day from Cebu in the Philippines. Appreciate you tuning in for the 2020 edition of the ASEAN Placemaker e-Weekend. I would like to thank our friends from our official UNESCO Cities of Design buddy Bandung for the invitation. My real name is Gil, but everyone calls me Butch, and I'm here to talk about placemaking in Cebu. I wear a few different hats as I really started off in the private sector, but over the years have worked closely with government agencies, the United Nations, BSOs, and NGOs. I would like to think that this wide range of experiences, extensive network, and cultivated relationships have allowed me to understand the issues and dynamics from both a macro and micro level, connect the different stakeholders, and align resources and initiatives in a more impactful way. Today's talk is divided into 3 parts. To provide background and context, we'll be talking about Cebu, its creative sectors, and COVID-19 impact. Next, we will discuss how Cebu's community has responded to the pandemic. Lastly, we will synthesize everything together and talk about our immediate next steps. Set in the middle of the 7,000 plus islands that make up the Philippine archipelago is the dynamic and historic city of Cebu, which for over 500 years has been a hub of trade, a center of culture, and a model of resiliency. It has a diverse economy that is centered on tourism, international trade, manufacturing, and tech services. Over the years, it has consistently been ranked amongst the best islands in the world and has been a fixture in many global industry rankings. Cebu has a very vibrant creative sector that is estimated to be worth $500 million or 7% of Cebu's GDP and span every subsector as defined by the United Nations Commission on Trade and Development. The city has had quite a few international cultural and design distinctions, the latest being its designation as a UNESCO City of Design in 2019. An export-oriented economy, functional design is the largest subsector in Cebu, accounting for 21% of the total. Creative services is the second largest subsector, accounting for 20.5%. Rounding out the top three at just over 14% is visual arts, which is composed of painting, sculpture, and photography. Everything was going great, but then COVID-19 happened, at which point we immediately set out to quantify impacts on the creative community, which turned out to be one of the most affected by the pandemic. As the situation progressed, it became clear that COVID-19 impacted subsectors differently. New media, for example, flourished, while performing arts was severely disadvantaged as they relied heavily on large public gatherings and close human interaction. The value chain, which was severely disrupted at the onset of the pandemic, quickly evolved as new opportunities arose. COVID-19 also amplified pre-existing weaknesses within the creative sectors and accelerated transformational changes that were already well on their way pre-pandemic. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has forced us to postpone our larger-scale infrastructure interventions. Under a UNESCO bid last year, the two main components planned were NUDE, or the Cebu Museum of Design, and the revitalization of the city's historical district, both of which require considerable time, effort, and resources. However, we hope to reinitiate these projects very, very soon. In the next few frames, I will talk about how some of Cebu's establishments, groups, and communities have responded to the pandemic in relevant and creative ways to demonstrate the legendary Cebu can-do attitude. Amongst the first to step up was the visual arts community, who in early April mounted an online auction that raised a few million pesos that they donated to the local Fab Lab network. Face shields were a novel concept then, and supply far outstripped demand. Open source designs were tweaked to align with locally available materials, as international logistics were at a standstill in those days. Virtual communities, marketplaces, and exchanges, primarily in Facebook, immediately popped up and allowed locals to stay productive while in lockdown, while mitigating their financial losses. Not only did these platforms provide much-needed diversion, they also reactivated dormant skills and encouraged many to learn new ones. The new Cebu Chinese Heritage Museum, which had a soft opening right before the lockdown, used the opportunity to build their capacity, enhance their exhibits, and refine their programming. Once in-city establishments were allowed to open, after complying with the new health protocols, those that had alfresco areas like Asmara Urban Resort leveraged their assets into the health and wellness space by enhancing outdoor activities, introducing healthier menus, and creatively tweaking their messaging. The multi-award-winning, privately run Mactan Cebu International Airport, which is rightfully credited as being the most impactful recent project that has redefined Cebu as a destination, was also the first airport in the country to establish a COVID-19 laboratory in one of its terminals. So now let's talk about where placemaking fits into the other frameworks that have guided our planning. First is the sustainability trifecta, that is environmental, economic, and social, upon which we anchor all our projects. Next are the different manifestations of creativity that allow us to realize our sustainability initiatives. The third framework has to do with the 3 T's of creative cities, that is talent, technology, and tolerance. Placemaking is at the confluence of these 3 frameworks, as they all lead to happy, healthy, integrated, and thriving communities. At this point, let us shift our discussion to more concrete initiatives going forward that impact placemaking under the frameworks of sustainability, creativity, and creative cities. One of the key components of our UNESCO bid last year was the creation of the Creative Cebu Grid, which is composed of local and national government, the academe, and the private sector. International collaborators, while not technically part of the grid, are also indicated to signify their importance. This grid utilizes both top-down and bottom-up approach and taps existing institutions, movements, and relationships and harnesses them in a more efficient way. That one, continuously maps resources and initiatives, as well as provide a forum for knowledge exchange. 2. Identify and bridge gaps, both current and projected. And 3. Align strategies, initiatives, and goals so that redundancies are reduced and synergies are achieved. We're hoping to fully activate this grid very soon, but have already been utilizing the structure in the last few months. Obviously, COVID-19 has greatly impacted our timelines, but we continue to trudge on. In the short term, we will continue to drum up excitement and awareness to engender the need for the creative agenda. Second, we intend to expand platforms for more collaboration and innovation. Third is to initiate more proof of concepts that show our plans in action. Lastly, we will endeavor to unleash force multipliers in the medium to longer term. All of these have the goal of institutionalizing creativity, where creativity becomes embedded in policies and processes of every stakeholder, regardless of political regime, and is widely acknowledged as a key driver for our collective sustainable future. Cebu Design Week, which for the first time pivoted to a virtual series of events last month, has been our primary tool for spreading the word and is getting stronger as a platform for knowledge exchange and collaboration. We've also been highlighting companies and individuals who champion sustainability and creativity. By sharing these success stories, we hope to inspire and enable many more to achieve a critical mass of sustainable ideas, products, and services. This year, we began our initial foray into urban acupuncture, where small interventions, when replicated enough, can make a significant impact on the built environment and the cityscape. We started off with small-scale street art, but we will continue to build on those efforts. Next year marks the 500th anniversary of the Magellan Elcano circumnavigation of the world, in which Cebu plays a significant role. So we hope to scale up the urban acupuncture initiative while helping ease clogged waterways and polluted coastlines. We will also be working with the developers of the 19th century carbon market, who will be transforming the entire area into a first world shopping, cultural, lifestyle, and transport hub, with water linkages to the airport, which is operated by the same consortium. This market is directly adjacent to the city's historical district, which we are targeting to revitalize. Aligning both these projects together will definitely reap multiple synergies and amplify impact. Unfortunately, I've run out of time, but these are just a few examples of how we are merging sustainability and creativity in the Cebu setting. All projects going forward will be anchored in the UN's SDGs, or Agenda 2030. Our ultimate goal is to engage and enable the city's many creative sectors in sustainable community building to achieve a city that excites and a Cebu that delights, that is not only livable, but lovable. This may be the end of today's presentation, but the conversations will continue. I look forward to answering your questions at the open forum later. In the meantime, please feel free to reach out to me on any of these platforms. Many thanks for your time and attention. Stay safe, stay creative, and stay vigilant. Bye.
So that was Joel Karangay from Cebu. It was so good to see the beach again. Cebu and Penang are certainly in my list of travel destinations now. Next, we welcome our fourth speaker, Faisa Putri from Indonesia. Faisa Putri is an academic and research assistant at Institut Teknologi Bandung's architecture program. She was in charge in designing a virtual placemaking platform during the Artopolis event in September this year. Artopolis is a biannual conference held by the Architecture Department of Institut Teknologi Bandung. And today, Faisa is going to share her digital placemaking experience with us. Faisa?
Hi, I'm here. If you let me share my screen. Hey everyone, so today I'll talk about the virtual live stage of Artopolis 8. So Artopolis itself is a conference that's been gathering scholars, government officials, community leaders, planners, policymakers, professionals in a conversation of creating city spaces through creative approach. But it's not just that, it's not just young Charlotte there, but also the full site activities in Bandung and around ITB, our campus. Then this year's our 8th, but due to the pandemic, we had to move online. So we went from this fun-loving committee to a bored group of people working from home with their PJs. So yeah, at first we avoided to do this conference online because what's our Artepolis without all the physical activities in the city? And honestly, we were a little bit fed up with the sea of ubiquitous online events that we were sort of just not engaged anymore. But then this was our theme this year, redefining space in the digital era. And we felt it was a little bit ironic that we resented this digital existence as our new reality. So yeah, we decided to do it online. And 1 month prior to the event, I pitched in the idea of building a platform sort of to bring the venue to the screen of the participants' homes. I really didn't know what it was about actually, but this was what we advertised at first, and it was intriguing for a lot of stakeholders. We had 2 weeks to build it, and another 2 weeks for run-throughs with sponsors or partners, and magically those who weren't agreed to support us did say yes at that point because they were excited to see how the conference would go online. So here is, I would give you the gist of what happened in September during the 2 days. This is the platform of the virtual stage, a set of instructions because our participants honestly weren't really tech savvy. So we had to be really thorough with that. This is the main stage that you saw in the first time, and you can see the conference going online through the stage. You can join the live sessions or you can just watch it from the platform. This is some VR experience sort of to locate yourself in the venue by scanning it. Nope, still, yep, there you go. I'm scanning it through my phone right now to see what I have on my left, my right, what's going on my back. And yeah, basically to locate yourself in the venue. On the right wing area, we have chat rooms because conference, it's not just about the one-way interaction, but also chatting with other participants. And also we have game room. It's a fun one. We have instructions. We have trivial quizzes every now and then, and we had presents for people who win them. Also food, because who doesn't love food? We had a diverse menus from some tenants from some major cities in Indonesia that they can scan through. You can see them. Also another 360 from the food and beverage booth. And then once you've decided what to buy, you can scan another barcode. And this was nice because while you were enjoying the conference, you could scroll through the menu and click order, pay, and it will be delivered safely while you were still on your seats. And going to the left wing area, we had souvenir shops. You can buy books from our media partners. And then you could also see our abstract book consisted of the papers presented on those days. You could spot yours, you could spot your themes or any research you're interested in and decided if you would like to buy them or like to buy one of our merchandises from our shops. And that's not the most exciting part because one of the most favorite feature is of course photo booth, where participants got real documentations of them delivering their presentations on the stage. This was a lot of people were very appreciative of this, and also you could take selfies on the virtual. Yeah, that was me. The virtual venue, and apparently also all around ITB, the campus. Yep. that was me again. And yeah, I think thumbs up for selfies. And when you post that, it will be shown on the screen on the left. And we have also dedicated booth for sponsorships, presentations. Also, you can exit the venue and go to our campus where there is a virtual tour. So funnily is that touring the ITB campus was something participants outside Bandung looked forward to, but then during the pandemic, even our faculties were really excited about this because, well, they kind of missed it. So yeah, this is a sort of a teaser video of the campus. This was made by one of our alumni. And this year, ITB also celebrated its 100th anniversary. So it's kind of bummer that we couldn't do and visit the campus. That's the Aula Barat, our venue for the Artipolis 8. And from there, we go to the campus through the 360 tour. This was, in a way, not very technologically fancy, but it made up for what it is. We captured this in 360 during our campus being closed, so it was quite empty, and there are lots of installations commemorating the 100 years of ITB. We're not gonna finish the tour and go back to the venue. Yep, and on the right, we had comment boxes, comment board where people could leave comments, and gladly, they're all great comments. And creating a platform is one way, but making people engage with the event is another. So we created themed photo sessions because it's hard to, make them not turning off their videos. Also, awards for most engaged participants because conference is all about, you doing things and you connecting with other people. So we tried our best to make up for our offline communications. And this was the feedbacks from the participants and the presenters. Also messages sent through our chairwomen. So yeah, for our first time, this was quite a successful experience. This was us, the committee, during the day. And this will not happen without all our advisory boards, steering committees, and organizing committees. If you visit our platform right now, this is what it's going to show you. See you in the next 2 years. And maybe this opens up so much more opportunities because who knows, later we can do a hybrid between online and offline event because turns out it was so inclusive and people enjoyed the experience. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Faisha. I was at that conference. I was at Autopolis conference.
Yes, you were. You were.
Yes,
I saw
yeah.
when I seek through the photo sessions. I saw yours.
Yes, good to see you again.
Nice. Hope
I
you
can
enjoyed
testify that it was very close to being in a real conference, although I can't order food in Singapore.
Yeah, it's glad to know that.
Yes. Well, yeah, Autopolis is held every 2 years, and it's really worth checking out their next event. Next, we will welcome Stella Gui from Singapore. Stella is the co-founder and director of Shop House & Co., the pioneer placemaking studio based in Singapore. A multi-hyphenate, she brings her expertise as a publicist, marketer, arts manager, curator, and experienced producer to develop placemaking strategies and to catalyze communities through programs and design interventions that reimagines urban, private, and public spaces. With her extensive network and experience across the arts, theater, music, film, design, architecture, and creative industries, both locally and internationally, Stella is a connector who believes strongly that creativity, culture, and the community are key ingredients to building a vibrant city. Today, we are so lucky to have Stella to share with us her placemaking experience in Singapore. Let us welcome Stella.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me all right? Okay, great. I think thumbs up if you can see the slides all right and the screen. Yes? Great. Thank you. Hello, Bandung and Apa Kabau. Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you to the rest of the speakers for very engaging session. So I'm Stella, and I am the co-founder and director of Shophouse & Co. here in Singapore. And yes, today I'm very, very glad to be sharing with you some of our examples here in Singapore and what we have been up to. So, okay, just give me a second. Having some problem with my slide change. Oops. Okay, here we go. Are you able to see me toggle my slide? Ah, okay. Sorry about that. Technical. Yeah. So, yeah, sorry, got a bit distracted there. So Shophouse & Co., we are actually have been in Singapore for the last 7 to 8 years here in the field of placemaking.
Stella, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Hi, can everyone hear me all right? Now? Thank you. Sorry for that. Yeah. Okay, so let's get back into it. Thank you so much, Bandung. I don't know how much you heard earlier for inviting me. And here I am actually the co-founder of Shophouse & Co. And we are actually based here in Singapore, and I've been actively involved in placemaking work for the last 7 to 8 years. So a lot of the time our work have been involved in working with the government agencies, public spaces, and as well as the community. So 2019 has been a very, very busy year for us. We've been involved in, really a sort of project. And because we are primarily a consultancy firm, we've been involved in project from a master plan level on a youth belt here in Orchard Road in Singapore. For the rest of you who might be familiar, Orchard Road is a shopping district here in Singapore. To even working with D&D town in Singapore, like the HDB area, to consult on business improvement district program. So today I want to share with you 3 projects. Coincidentally, after a very busy 2019, we entered 2020 with one project that happens just before pandemic strikes. And this is the project called Podscape. And Podscape is a creative placemaking engagement tool for us to really be able to go out to the community and to think about how we can catalyze the public space. So beyond just having an activation in the physical space, we also brought in a digital component to it, which is a podcast format, right? So we called it Podscape, and we titled it Sounds and Stories of the City. So this is how it looks like. It took us 3 weeks to design and build this. And in the centerpiece is actually this over here, you can see is actually a recording studio. And with 2 end caps that can open up for us to put it as a listening booth station or as well as programming. Now, when we designed this, it was with one purpose to be able to go into several typology of spaces here in Singapore. for those of you who visited us before, we have skyscrapers, we have town centers, we have marketplaces. But then there's one thing that you don't see Singapore have, like in Indonesia, which is your food carts or your food trucks in the West. Here in Singapore, we don't have that. What we have that's very popular with our food culture here is hawker centers. So what we did was, when we create this, it was with the whole spirit of being able to go into places and record stories, and to be able to come out with a soundscape experience of the neighborhood. You know, I had this crazy idea one day, and I asked myself, is it possible to come out with a soundscape? Say, if I live in a particular part of Singapore, there is a sound experience that I will be able to find that, hey, if I'm taking a train, I'll be able to hear it. So with that as an experimental question, we created this project in one part of Singapore. It's called Bukit Panjang. Now, the photos on the left, photos on the right, some of you might be surprised that this is Singapore. Yes, it is. The black and white photos are Singapore back in the 1950s, 1940s, you know. So this is a very interesting part of Singapore that most of us might somehow struggle to relate to it. So when we created Podscape, we work with a sound artist, you know, bringing out stories from the past as well as stories of the present. You know, what are interesting stories of that particular neighborhood. In this particular neighborhood, there is a very famous nudist store that opens through the night to about 5 a.m. in the morning. All right, it's called Ke Kou Mian, which is very delicious noodles. And this is the stories that we then bring in to the recording, hearing it from the community. This was what happened in March, just before we went into pandemic. It was for a few weekends. I'd like to draw attention to this lady here wearing the red hat. You know, she's probably about 70 over years old, and she came by. We did it for 2 sessions before we had to cancel it. And she came by the first weekend. She was very shy. She doesn't really, you know, share much. But then subsequently she came back again, and she was so, you know, inspired by what we have done and touched by what we have done. She brought like coffee, you know, for our volunteers, for our co-workers, and for our artists as well. So this was a project that we did it. We realized that it's so important to not just focus on the hardware, you know, the interventions that in terms of the physical, but really what's connecting people is the heart, right? And stories, when we communicate that from collecting it from the community, when it comes back out, that's when it really created a difference. And so we have brought that onto a podcast format, right? And the vision of Podscape was to really be able to move into different neighborhoods here in Singapore and perhaps overseas one day, to be able to just create a depository of stories, you know, and discussion points that we can look at it as a possibility of engagement to community collaboration, as well as a public space catalyst. So that's Podscape. We had to, you know, to go into hibernation when Singapore enters into a circuit breaker a week after we finished the project. So from April onwards, you know, the studio literally was on a pause. We were not working on any projects, but in May we were responding to Posh Placemaking Week that Lucinda from Melbourne was inviting, you know, for everyone. So my team, they started to come out with this idea of knock knock, you know, like a knock knock on your neighbor's door. And this really is a community playbook. And we were inviting for ideas, you know, because we were all in lockdown mode. How do you be a good neighbor? And so we created and did a call out for ideas. You know, we came out with a toolkit, and that was phase 1 of it. And we enter into also holding discussion with different ones in the community. And that was an interesting thing for me to realize that actually, you know, Singapore has become so quick and so developed that sometimes, you know, which things which we take for granted, like saying hello to your neighbor, the younger ones actually find that to be a challenge. So that was just something, and right now we are working to bring Knock Knock as a program to several neighborhoods, working with, you know, the community leaders in their neighborhood to execute some of these ideas. So that was during pandemic, and when the city slowly opens up, we've just installed an installation called Bubble Play last week, actually, here in Singapore. This time on the furthest eastern neighborhood in Singapore called Pasir Ris, which means white sand. It's very near the beach. It's actually a beach resort in this place called Downtown East. So right now, because of the pandemic, there's no tourists coming to Singapore. This entertainment hub has a lot of difficulties drawing people. Events have to come to a complete stop due to the social distancing issue. So in response to how can we continue to have the community to come and gather or have a part to play in the social spaces safely, we created a installation. It's called Bubble Play, because we were inspired by things that we see during the pandemic, times, things like QR code. I'm not sure in Jakarta or in Indonesia do you have to go through that, but it becomes everyday normal for us now to have a tape being a 1 meter distancing, QR code tapping in for contact tracing and things like that, right? So we wanted to, inspire people to kind of come out to interact with their physical environment. So this space on the left, you can see, is actually a steps, and it's highly underutilized. Nobody uses the staircase because everybody will be going on the escalator. And for that, what we did was we just, created a zone for people to linger. We added colors, and like Charles has said earlier, introducing play into a physical space. We got people, because it was wrapped with bubble wrap, right? That's why it's called Bubble Play. So people were just sitting, and as they were talking, they were pressing onto these bubble wraps, making pop, pop, pop sound. And they actually got a bit addictive to it. Within the first few days, we are actually having quite a lot of our bubbles being popped. Yeah, so very quickly, I'm so sorry for the end of my presentation because I only have 5 minutes, and I apologize for some technical issues earlier. In our studio, that's the work we do here in Singapore. And this pandemic really has reinforced our belief that the future, will really be more local and digital. And we believe very strongly in our local neighborhood to be the building blocks of the future of our city. And I hope these 3 examples that I've shared will give you a good indication. And if you'd like to find out more about the work we do, please follow us on our social media pages at Shophouse Co, or you can log into our website. The information is on the screen. So I'm so sorry, Merky, I took longer than I think I should be. I'm trying to speed it up, but over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Stella. It's really good to hear from Singapore, which, as we know, is much more regulated than other ASEAN countries. So yeah, if you want to learn more about Stella's project, the link is, I've tapped it in the chat box. And next we are moving from Singapore to Myanmar. Sienna Wilders is going to present a placemaking case study from Yangon. Sienna Wilders is an advisor and urban heritage professional at STIPO, who links local identity, stories, and intangible heritage to urban transformation challenges. She has a hands-on mentality and makes sure that participation and co-creation is part of area development. Within STIPO, she shares knowledge through workshops, training, and the connection of placemakers to networks. In her work, she aims to combine work with pleasure, and through the creation of the City at Eye Level Asian Network, she found a perfect balance between work and travel to immerse herself in all these wonderful Asian cultures and cities. Please welcome Sienna.
Thank you, Mariki. And thank you, Tita, of course, for inviting me for the e-conference. I'm very delighted that we have an online conference because I was very pleased about the conference from last year in Kuala Lumpur. Let me load my screen. Yes. So I'm Sienna Wilders. I'm based in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. We started the City at Eye Level as a book and a network together with Think City and Urban Discovery and the Creative Industry Fund in the Netherlands. And I think, as Mariki already told, I will share one case from the book, but there's so much more from the book that since we have a bit more extra time, I wanted to share more from the book instead of just one case. So I will take you through the journey of the book. So as you've heard, STIPO is a team for urban development in the Netherlands. We are a very interdisciplinary team, and we are always very keen on sharing knowledge. So we've decided to share our insights and the insights of our networks in a book. It's called A City at Eye Level, and it's actually a book and a program and a network. And we've started in 2012 with the book, and now it's grown to lots of different books on different topics. So for example, last year we launched a book especially on the city at eye level kids, so experiences the city at a kids level. Or Our City was launched last year. It's a book on inclusive public space. And this year in October, we've launched the City at Eye Level ASEAN. We noticed that Asian cities are shifting and turning their focus towards human skill development and better quality public space. But I do believe that most Asian people are natural born placemakers. It's of course a very different use of public space compared to, for example, Western cities, for example. And not all concepts that are successful, for example, in the West may work in the East. Asian cities are very booming and rightly in their own accepted ways, but there's no cookie cutter solutions because every city is of course very unique. And we've noticed that lots of big companies in the West are being hired for big city developments in the East. And it's very different because sometimes it's hard to translate concepts from the West to different contexts, of course. So we've noticed that why not collect different stories from Asia as sort of a good examples of how you can co-create a city in a more local context for Asian people. So in 2016, we've been exploring different collaborations. And during the placemaking week in Amsterdam in 2017, we've met Think City, Hamdan Majid, and Xiaoping Li. And then we kickstarted the whole collaboration. And like I said, we've organized together with Think City a couple of sessions during the Placemaker Week ASEAN last week there in Kuala Lumpur. And this October, we've launched the book online. Fortunately, we couldn't travel to Asia, of course, because we wanted to celebrate it with all the different authors and collaborators. But of course, during times of Corona, it's the online world is much more connected nowadays, of course. So it's been a good journey because we thought it would be good if you build on momentum. So like we said in Amsterdam in 2017, we've had our first session for exploring different connections for Asian cases. And then last year in Kuala Lumpur, we've met lots of different people, and then we build on the different cases. So we've collected even more cases. And now, of course, we are here together. I see we have already 61 participants today. So it's great to build on the momentum and keep the energy there, because I think it would be a shame if we had canceled this year, of course, for bringing all different fields and people who love cities together in Asia. So sort of the aim for the book was adapting the developed methodology for better cities at eye level for the Asian context, to provide correct and proper terminology, because sometimes the words placemaking or urban development, there are different different ideas for the terminology, of course. Creating space for dialogue, creating a platform to bring different disciplines together, because we do believe that although if we meet each other as placemakers, we do understand why it's important to build great cities, but also we need to translate our different approaches to those people who are in charge of developing bigger cities, policymakers, developers, because they also do need to be on board, of course, if we need to design for better cities. In the book, we've created 43 cases all over Asia. We've selected, in total, we have 15 countries. We wanted to have all countries in there, but we couldn't find all. But we believe the book is never finished. So we also have an online platform. If we have more cases, they're always all open to be published on our websites. And we've divided the book into different topics because we've noticed together with our project team with Think City and Urban Discovery and also different experts in Asia that these are sort of the more addressing issues in Asia. And we wanted to collect different case studies that could fit in sort of problem solutions or great examples of how to work towards, for example, underused spaces. I'm going to show the case today. So we have very different cases. For example, the left top one is a vision for wet markets in Hanoi to make them more sustainable for the future. The right top is moms from India who wanted to redevelop a park for their kids. So moms, so very bottom up, of course, they wanted to take control of their own public space in Mumbai. But we also have examples from project developers like Landlease for the exchange art TRX in Malaysia, or we have like very bottom up street hawker examples from Malaysia, because we do believe that street hawkers can be the anchor for community engagements. And as Amdam Abdul Majid, the managing director from Think City, says, as part of the community of urban practices, we have long felt that Asian cities have much to contribute to the global urban narrative. And so here's a book that offers anecdotes to the 21st century urban challenges and excellence in creating city spaces for people. So the aim of the book is to inspire and provide preferences to innovative solutions for great cities at eye level for an Asian perspective. So here I will show you the case. This is a case from Yangon. It's a project from Doane and the director, Emily Ruel. She was working in Myanmar, in Yangon, to restore the different heritage buildings, mostly public buildings. And then she noticed that the back alleys behind the buildings were very in a bad shape. They were used as a dump. There was lots of rats swimming, so it was very unhealthy for people to live next to the back alleys. And they provided a back alley program. And now they've provided 15,000 square meters of extra public space to Yangon. So I will show you a brief clip so you get an impression of the program. So I think this showcases that it's very interesting to see how we look at public space. We do believe that it's interesting to see how we can make more human friendly and lovable spaces. And I think this case from Doane really showcases that you can really take another perspective on public space, or maybe renew the way we look at public space, and create extra space where people in like a super dense city as Yangon can come together in a less crowded, less polluted space between the different buildings. And I think that's a very, very interesting approach of placemaking, because of course it's all about creating good places where people feel at home. So we have a really great list of all the people who participated in the book, and you can download the book for free. We do believe that it's very important to spread the knowledge and be as accessible for all, to everybody. And if you do want to have a printed book, it will be out soon, but because of the pandemic, we have to see how we can ship things. But do connect with our Facebook network, because in Placemakers Asia, that's our network that we launched. It's a Facebook network, and it's very active, the network. So it's really nice to see that the Facebook page is really connecting all the different initiatives. And also for these conferences, of course, we hope to link all the networks together, and hopefully next year to have another Placemaker Week ASEAN in another city, hopefully. But again, thank you for organizing this. And I think it's super nice to be connected and to share all the different cases, to be inspired by everybody, and to make better cities together with everybody who's involved in a city and who loves the city. So thank you all.
Thank you, Sienna. Thank you for your presentations. It's really good to see a case study from Yangon. So that is the end of our presentation today. We have learned so much from Placemakers experts, from case studies in Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia, Yangon, Myanmar, and Singapore. And next, we are going to start our Q&A session. If you have any question, you can just type them in the chat box. I'll read them out, or you can just unmute and read out your question. So if I scroll up here, I see one question from Guririn to Charles Landry. Charles, from your years of experience, what makes placemaking fail, and what must be properly cared for in order to be successful? Would you like to take
What a question. I think everybody's
Yes.
just been answering that question. I mean, I answered in the box and said one thing is to firstly be open, and then obviously the other problem is people are frightened of empowering people. But I mean, this is always the issue. How do you prove that placemaking actually is not the same as urban development? Because placemaking by definition is an integrated approach that involves people who understand the soft of the city as well as those that might understand the hard. So it's really about trying to provide evidence for that. And that's why, for example, Stipo and, what's just been said from Sienna is very important, that one has the examples. I mean, I was recently in Yangon and I saw exactly those things, and you just know there's a massive crisis. And I think the example, thank God there are so many examples, are really the things that tell the story. So the way I tend to approach it is be quite provocative as well. I use the word provocative for, if I have the opportunity to speak to leaders, or whoever a leader is. I mean, there are many leaders, not only the leader, but it is always to sort of say things like, oh, do you want to fail? Oh, if you want to fail, please continue. Or the other thing I tend to say, and this is a bit sloganistic, I tend to say, I'm sick and tired of talking about the value of culture, thinking about design or placemaking, and trying to prove the value of it? What about the cost of not valuing it? And that then puts the foot on the other person's legs to justify why they're not doing it. And for me, that's personally been quite effective, because for so many years, I mean, so many of us in this room here, this virtual room, are activists, and we're always having to prove our case. And obviously you can see I'm a bit old, that's why I've got grey hair. I'm sick of that. So I tend to now go through the opposite approach and say, I challenge you. So that's one answer, but I'm sure many people have other answers.
That's very interesting. Does that answer your question, Buririn? Buririn, are you still here? Okay, and by the way, we have another question for Charles Landry. Okay, I'm going to read out the question. Charles, I'm from developing country, Pakistan. Can you please give me some ideas how to practice these projects in a country where people don't even have resources to buy food or shelter? Thank you. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously is a big precondition of everything. But what I've found that has been quite useful, and looking at the bigger scale, for example, you know, in Europe we have these things called Capital of Innovation, or Capital of not Capital of Innovation. We have that, but also, you know, Cultural Capital Awards. But the main point I'm trying to make is that these type of ideas, mechanisms where you have a target, is incredibly important. And that's why things like the Hellafest or Artopolis are very important, because it's just saying, this is just an event, yeah? And even if you don't have so much food and all of that, you still might want to be part of an event. And having events that have a time-dated focus, you can always then say to whoever the decision makers are, oh, we're just doing it. It's only a little experiment. It's only part of this festival, Hellafest or whatever it's called. But what often happens when you research these things in detail is that that is the thing that is effectively the prototype that then people see that it might work. So what you're often doing in these events is you're prefiguring what can be, and prefiguring what can be is incredibly important. I remember someone mentioned the word Melbourne earlier, I think Stella. I remember many years ago, the head of planning from Victoria, brilliant man, David Yenkin, he allowed the planners overnight to grass the main street. And it was just only an action, yeah. But that reimagined what Swanston Street could be, and that led to a whole series of catalytic developments that today you can't really track. But if you know the history, you know that what is often good about Melbourne stems from these sorts of things. The other person, I mean, just a minute ago, Sienna was talking about the back streets of Yangon, which are exactly, as you say, pretty heavy. But in Melbourne, again, they started from the back streets, from the untidy, to make the city revitalize itself again by just doing small, tiny interventions. And one of the main things I'm always thinking about, there's a difference between doing 100 very small things well or one just big project. And I tend to be of the, you know, let's do 100 small things well, that then become a sort of radical incrementalism. And of course, you can occasionally do some big project, but actually, you know, city making is like knitting. It's like knitting a fabric. I mean, I saw lots of you in the back of your rooms having lots of nice fabrics, and that's what really city making is about. But the point is, as you all know, and this is too easy to say, you need some sort of ethical framework, some sense of what are your criteria of what makes great cities. But I do think people are beginning, I do think there is a shift happening, just merely the fact that the word placemaking has become more important than urban development. We should always assess who's talking about urban development and who's talking about placemaking. So I do think some shifts are occurring, and they can happen in very poor countries and very rich countries. But bearing in mind, as Hamdan said, you know, just to import a Western idea into, let's say, Africa or Asia is a bad idea. But I do think there are some core principles, which are the desire, the human desire to connect and be in some way together is true everywhere. Its manifestation is probably slightly different.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to
Oh, yes,
add to that,
Sienna.
to what Charles said about the small activities, because I do think that you don't have to always think big. It's a matter of acupuncture, I think, in a city. I think as PPS, Project for Public Spaces in New York, also said, if you do it like lighter, quicker, cheaper, it doesn't necessarily need to cost a lot of money, but it's starting somewhere with just interaction, human connection, being aware of human scale in cities, and creating public spaces that are lovable and where all kinds of different people feel at home. I think that is where you can start off without saying, I don't have a lot of money, I can't start. It's matter of starting like small and easy, and I think like Charles said, as long as you make different interventions in public space and create sort of an acupuncture effect, then hopefully in the end it creates a better impact, a bigger impact in a city, instead of thinking that it's not possible for countries who don't have a lot of money, for example.
Yes, the concept of small interventions. Yes, that's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to pick up on what Sienna's just saying, within these small interventions, you usually have a strategic idea, a plan, and so on. But often what's quite interesting, I find, sometimes we have ideas and we have these big words, you know, which people use in professional worlds. Often it's just inspiring people to be involved in a project on the basis of, as you just said, lighter, quicker, cheaper. But at the same time have a vision of what you're trying to do at the same time. So you're operating at different levels. Anyway, I just thought I'd add that point.
Sorry. We have 2 more questions, but we have 10 more minutes. But before that, I'm going to let you know that after this, we are going to have our urban game, Jalan, Jajan. So please stay tuned. And at the end of the urban game, we are going to have a photo session with the theme sneaking and snacking. So please grab your sneaking and snacking tools. You can grab a spoon, chopstick, or I have my cup here. You can see. And we're going to take our photo together, a group photo with our sneaking and snacking tool. All right, so I'm going to read out the next question. It's from Abi Sutanrai to Sienna. Hi, Sienna. Thanks for the sharing. Very interesting, very interesting. Based on your experience, what is the first thing to do in placemaking approach in the heritage urban landscape context?
Oh, that's a very difficult question. Well, it always starts at the challenges from a place, I would say. Like I said, every place is unique, so there's no cookie cutter solutions for if you have a heritage building, for example, that you want to redevelop or activate with the community. But I think it's normally, if we start with a project, we just walk around and talk to people who are using the building, who are using public space, to get an understanding of the challenges and the needs and the solutions. And that's always sort of the starting point of looking for what the place then needs to become a better place. Placemaking is not always the sort of the term you need to use. It's more of a process you use to transform places. But I always look for, because I'm really interested in the stories of people, not necessarily the of course, the building has stories, but it's not the bricks that tell a story, it's the people that tell a story. So if you do connect the people who have, who cherish the building, then you can start off with talking to the people with great stories, and then they feel engaged. And that's sort of your starting point of a placemaking process. And then later on, of course, you then need to see what needs to be done, of course, depending on the project you have, of course, or the challenge you have for a building or a space or other types of heritage, for example. But I think it's starting out by connecting to the people who cherish that place, because then they feel engaged, and that's your starting point of your placemaking project, I would say.
Yes, so engaging with the people.
Yeah,
right.
That's always the first step, I would say.
Thank you, Sienna. Next, we have a question for Charles from Guriantari Sudarsono. Which approach is usually more successful, top-down or bottom-up placemaking, or both?
Yeah, that's a classic. In fact, it's obviously either or thinking, I don't think is a good idea. Obviously, we're in a period there's been far too much top down, and we need to re-emphasize the bottom up. But if you're looking at places, and places are complicated, no, they're not complicated, they're complex things, then it's elements of both. Because, you know, sometimes we say, okay, we have to have everything bottom up, and it's only the people who know that. Sure, they are the experts in their own life, as Sienna just said. You know, they're the people who cherish their place. That's certainly true. But there are sometimes people, either within the community or elsewhere, who can be quite inspirational, who can perhaps say, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? So I think we should get beyond a bit top down, bottom up. Sorry, what is it called? Top down, bottom up thinking. I think it's partly both, but I think the ground principle, of course, is that people need to feel somehow empowered. I completely agree with that.
Yes, so it's a combination top-down, bottom-up.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to control the top down, absolutely. But I think it's always, sorry, this would be a longer conversation. Perhaps we'll have a session precisely on this point at some point, because I think it's a really rich question, which has lots of stuff in it.
Yes, I understand. How about I make it more specific? I'd like to ask all the presenters today, how do you coordinate with other sectors? Like, how do you coordinate with the government, regulations and rules, and the people who are involved, and private sectors and funders? You can, anyone can take the question.
Such beautifully big questions. I mean, you know, there's so many answers. I mean, my own answer for the moment is this whole thing about the Creative Bureaucracy Festival, which Stipo was a participant, and also Tita from Bandung. And for the moment, I'm trying to say to the public administration, not everyone there is stupid. There's some interesting people in there. We need to empower them to have a different relationship with the private and civic worlds and so on. So I think the basic principle is trying to, for me at least, is trying to develop this sense of more open conversation, and trying to get people on the same page in terms of language. So often the different sectors use completely different languages. So the starting point is to try to get a conversation going and to try and get a dialogue. Now that will be different in each place. What I personally think is very helpful is having a crisis. And the current crisis is, in that sense, got a silver lining potentially, to engage again, to say, yeah, lots of people think the old normal is now an exotic destination, but to remind people that the old normal had its problems, that now we've got a chance for a reset. Anyway, over to you, Sienna.
Yeah, maybe Stella, do you want, because you didn't have
Oh,
questions.
you've come back. I didn't see you,
Yeah.
Stella. Yeah.
Perhaps I could just, sorry. Yeah, I think maybe I should share my experience here in Singapore, because we're known to be quite a city with a lot of red tape and regulations. And I totally agree with what you mentioned, Charles, that it's actually about creating a conversation. I'm having that dialogue. It just brought to me another example from another project. So we did this project near our studio, and we wanted to because in the past in Singapore, playing table tennis, ping pong, it's an activity in our neighborhood. We, as a kid, I grew up with table tennis table underneath our block of flats. It disappeared as our city gets more and more developed, and we wanted to bring that back, because the residents were wondering, why, what happened. When we went to the town council, they told us this. They said, oh, we took it away because people were vandalized. So what did we do? Our response to that was, okay, fine, then we will vandalize it ourselves. So we got artists to come together. We put chalk painting. We involved the community to vandalize, the table tennis table as an experiment, and of which we then, did it as an experiment and said that, about 2 months that we placed the table in a public space underneath a block of flats here in Singapore, it was not vandalized. The community took the ownership. So it began to have that input, supported by data, supported by prototyping, to begin to move certain, no, to like, oh, okay, now that you have come out with this, you've shown us, it's hard for them to say no. So I think in our studio work, a lot of time we are trying to be innovative and trying to figure out how can we make people find it hard to say no to us. So activism sometimes can have a very double meaning, double-edged sword here in Singapore. But a lot of time we feel that if our heart is in the right place, we know that this is an idea, or this is something that we believe can bring the community together. It might not sit very well, or it might not have been tried before. Then let's try. If it fails, it fails. But it's okay to just try, and then we learn from it. So that's the approach that we have been doing here in Singapore for the last 7 to 8 years, and slowly, we begin to just breach conversations, and very importantly, make friends in the government sector and look for the champions. So I think today we have some friends from Singapore who's here, and they are great champions in our field of work here in Singapore. Thank you.
Guys, make friends.
I love that phrase you just used, make it hard to say no, because the key slogan of the creative bureaucracy is changing from a no because culture to a yes if culture. So that sort of connects very much with what you've just said, Stella.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So change from a no culture to yes if culture. All right, we have time for just one last question. I'll read out a question from Kana Chris. A devil's advocate question. Culture, one of the pillars of placemaking, is a result from years of evolution or a continuing process. By freezing or framing it into one or two known forms, by mapping and insisting to maintain it in the name of cultural preservation or cultural productization, could we be stopping its natural evolution? Yes, would you like to?
I mean, again, this is a sort of yes and no question, which I'm always resisting yes and no questions. I mean, what I tend to say, again, sorry that I'm always sloganistic. I always say creativity is a renewable resource and heritage non-renewable. However, we can continually reinterpret it, which is lots of the projects have just been doing. So I'm trying to get beyond that dichotomy. So of course, the other thing I think is embedded in what everybody's saying is by going with the grain of the cultures, which is acknowledging what exists, which might seem nostalgic, isn't really nostalgic, but because I think often if you go with the grain of an existing culture, you actually open people to the possibility of change. Because when you go with the grain, then people feel they're makers, shapers, co-creators of their possible culture, i.e. the evolution. So in that sense, it's organic.
Yes, would you like to add to that, Daniel Lim? Daniel?
Sure.
Yes.
Well, as I mentioned, I think culture is not something you preserve and stop from evolution, right? Because culture is a living organism. I think two things, most importantly, when we do placemaking, etc., when involve culture, is really understand the significance of it. Understanding, you can do it through a matrix of significance, because it is the significance that needs to be respected and celebrated, and not necessarily being cookie cutter replicated. And secondly, is actually when you talk about conservation, culture, and etc., it's always not to recreate something that is not real or true. So either you respect and celebrate what the significance of it, but not to recreate something that's totally out of context. So I think if we base on those two principles, then we are not stopping culture from evolving.
Thank you. That is very interesting. And we have come to the end of the presentation session of today's event. We are now moving to the second part of this event, which is Jalan Jajan. Jalan Jajan is a treasure hunt style urban game designed and produced by Bandung Creative City Forum. The treasure that we are hunting for are food, snacks, and drinks. They are usually hidden in the local kampongs, and one have to go through a maze of alleyways to get to them. Therefore, we need to hunt for them with the guidance from the local experts. So forget Google Maps, because they don't work in kampongs and they don't work in these alleyways. I have tried that, trust me. And forget the typical Indonesian food that we eat in the restaurants, because this is the authentic Indonesian food that the locals enjoy. And we are very lucky to be able to join Jalan Jajan virtually today, because this is the first time they go on hybrid mode, which is partially online and partially offline. And most parts of Jalan Jajan will be presented in English, but for a few parts, it's going to be presented in Bahasa Indonesia for an authentic Bandung experience. So, but don't worry, for those parts, there will be subtitles available. Okay, so if the Jalan Jajan team is ready, will you take over? And just a quick reminder, we are going to do a photo session at the end of this event. And if you want to take a break, go grab your sneaking and snacking tool for the photo session.
I need to sneak and snack now myself. Wander through my house, yes.
Yes, go ahead. So to Jalan Jajan team, are you ready?
Besok ku pergi ke Bandung bersama pacarku. Hingga malam pun berlalu, kita pun tersenyum. Paginya kita ke Bandung dan menembus waktu. Hingga 2 jam melaju, kita tiba di Bandung. La 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 la. La 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 la. Sejuk suasana Bandung, ringankan hatiku. Enggan kita untuk melabuh selain di Bandung. Selama kita di Bandung, kita pun berlagu, bernyanyi suara merdu, nada-nada syahdu. La 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 la. Sejuk suasana Bandung, ringankan hatiku. Enggan kita untuk melabuh selain di Bandung. Selama kita di Bandung, kita pun berlagu, bernyanyi suara merdu, nada-nada syahdu bersama dirimu. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. There is our first Jalan Jajan in in 2016. So let me introduce myself. My name is Rizka. I'm here with my friends as well, with Johnny, Ajeng, Dion, Uci, and Nevi. We are from Jalan Jajan, and we are going to play Jalan Jajan virtually for the first time ever. So I hope you guys having fun in here. Okay, first of all, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Selamat datang kepada Ibu Diana Indriati dan Bapak Cecep Satya dari Subdirektorat Pengelolaan Penyelenggaraan Kegiatan Kementerian Pariwisata dan Ekonomi Kreatif Republik Indonesia. Lalu selanjutnya selamat datang juga kepada Bapak Errol Zakaria dan Bapak Andi Wijaya dari Orfa Indonesia. Selamat datang juga kepada Kang Vicky Satari, Ketua Umum Indonesian Creative Cities Network. Lalu Mas M. Arif Budiman, General Secretary from Indonesian Creative Cities Network, juga Kang Gali Sedayu selaku Director of MICE dari ICCN. Baiklah teman-teman, okay guys, without any long further ado, we're going to play right now, like literally right now. I'm going to share screen, but before we are playing, I'm going to wait a minute. Yeah, we're going to play quiz and doing some virtual tour. So for your best experience, I recommend you to using two devices. There is a laptop and your smartphone, because the laptop or your PC is for joining quiz and the smartphone is for virtual tour, because we are using 360 cam method on YouTube. I will give you some barcode link and direct you to our link in YouTube. So I will give you a time to take your smartphone first, so we can enjoy the best experience of Jalan Jajan virtual. Yes, are you guys ready? Yeah, to be honest, I'm so nervous here because this is very first time. I hope there is no, apa ya? Semoga nggak ada yang aneh-aneh ya. Okay, I think we are ready. Yes, everyone have the smartphone. Okay, so let's quiz begin. Okay, yeah, this is the barcode. So please open your camera and scan the barcode first. And it will direct you to link on our YouTube account. Yeah. And you guys will see the first destination in Jalan Jajan.
Jumpa lagi di Jalan Jajan. Selamat datang di Jalan Jajan Virtual Tour. Yeay! Jadi kali ini kita bakal beda banget sama jalan jajan yang sebelum-sebelumnya karena kita bakal jalannya secara virtual. Semoga ini mengobati juga rasa rindu teman-teman buat jalan-jalan di sekitar kota Bandung ya. Ya nggak? Nah sebelum mulai kita kenalkan diri dulu. Nama saya Rizka. Dan ada Om Du di situ. Nah kita bakal jalan-jalan ke sekitar ada berapa destinasi Dion?
Ada 6.
Ada 6 destinasi di sekitaran Braga, Asia Afrika dan sekitar.
I will send you a link. Gimana caranya send? Oh, okay. Okay, here's the link. So, this building is Bandung Creative City Forum Simple Space 4. And we have some coffee shop in here. It's called Kopi Magma and sells original coffee beans from West Java.
Sama jalan-jalan sekitarnya. Nah, untuk destinasi yang pertama, kita udah sampai di Simple Space 4 dan di sini ada sebuah coffee shop yang sangat unik dan sangat otentik sekali karena menjual kopi asli dari Jawa Barat. Ini menarik banget karena kopinya langsung dipetik dari pegunungan di Malabar. Wah, pasti ini bakal enak dan seru banget. Kita bakal ngobrol-ngobrol sekaligus kita bakal keliling gedung Simple Space 4 ini ya, yang sebenarnya punya sejarah yang apa ya, aku mau ngomong apa, punya sejarah yang banyak ya. Oke kalau gitu. Oh iya teman-teman, sebelum kita pergi kita harus mempersiapkan protokol kesehatan ya, seperti menjaga jarak, cuci tangan, memakai masker, dan aku sekarang pakai face shield dulu supaya lebih aman ya jalan-jalannya. Ya udah deh, kita langsung mulai aja ya.
In Simple Space 4, also there is a gathering room and studio and then store and etc. And this is I'm going to order some coffee from barista. Yeah, okay. Rizka, is it possible to show subtitles in the video? My bahasa isn't that good to understand. Okay, Sienna, but I will translate to you. I try to translate right now, okay? So the barista says that in Kopi Magma there are 3 kinds of coffee. There is Arabica, honey brew, honey blend, and rose blend. House blend, I'm sorry. And then they pick the coffee bean from the Malabar mountain in West Java. So the coffee bean is very original from West Java. Okay, so I think.
Nah, sambil nunggu Mas Imam bikin kopi, sekarang ada pertanyaan buat teman-teman sekalian di sini. Kira-kira ada yang tahu nggak Gini, aku mau ngasih pertanyaan, benar atau salah?
Okay,
Benar
so
atau
let's
salah?
start with
Kopi Arabica
Ini aku mau
rasanya lebih asam
share
dari
dulu.
kopi Robusta. Silahkan jawab.
Okay, so this is the first question. True or false? Arabica coffee had sour taste. True or false? Yeah. Yeah, the answer is keep coming. The answer is coming. 15 seconds again. Yeah. True or false? Arabica coffee had sour taste. Okay, that's all. I will reveal your answer. We have to see. And 75% say it's true. So what is the answer actually? And the answer is true. Yeah. Okay, next question. Next question is about simple space 4, about the building. Okay, simple space 4 actually was known as Aubon Market. What kind of place of Aubon Market? Just guess it. You don't have to be right. It's just having fun. Theater or medicine warehouse or bakery shop, or it is fashion boutique. Aubon Market. This is before simple space 4, it's Aubon Market. Or Aubon Market.
Teman-teman punya komunitas, punya acara, bisa banget kesini ya.
Okay.
Buat,
The answer is keep coming. Yay. Okay. So I will stop the polling and we'll reveal your answers.
Tetap ada rasa kopinya.
Wow, 40% is answer bakery shop, 33 is theater, 20% is medicine house, and just 7% is fashion boutique. What is the answer? The answer is, let's reveal the answer. Oh my God, it's fashion boutique. Okay. It's fashion boutique. So let's ask our Galileo, Mr. Tubagus Adi. He is architect and historian from Bandung Heritage.
Oh, Bu Marse itu. Nah, si Bu Marse itu juga jadi tempat pakaian fashion.
Oh my God, aku belum share screen. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I already shared screen, but no. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Wait a minute. Wah, nggak rame. Yeah, the answer is fashion boutique. So let's ask our Galileo, Mr. Tubagus Adi. I'm sorry for the snapshot. I'm sorry, Mr. Adi. Mr. Adi is architect and historian from Bandung Heritage.
Namanya Bu Marse.
Oh,
Bu Marse itu. Nah, si Bu Marse itu juga jadi tempat pakaian fashion kan gitu. Jadi tapi yang menariknya itu, nah berarti turis Panjapa salah satunya karena itu juga pakaian di Paris itu dijual di Bu Marse itu kan. Nah si tempat ini dari dulu memang tempat fashion, tempat orang menggelar desain yang bagus kan gitu. Jadi di sana katanya kalau beli baju ya diukur langsung gitu, beli jasa segala rupa. Jadi butik gitu ya? Butik lah macam itu. Terus
okay, so our simple space is known as Aubon Marché, is the fashion boutique. Actually is high-end fashion boutique because it sells fashion items for Paris. I think it sells for some couture from Paris. Okay, never mind. Next question, we are going to Jalan Braga. If you want to experience where is Jalan Braga actually, you can scan the barcode in this oh my God, yeah, di PPT inilah. Okay. Let me, yeah. So this is Jalan Braga. This is very famous and very
sekarang kita udah
historical
nyampe di
because
suatu
there are
kawasan
so
yang
many
sangat
heritage
ikonik.
building in
Teman-teman
Jalan
juga pasti
Braga.
udah bisa nebak sendiri
They
ini di
have
mana.
special history in here. If you can see in your right.
Jadi kita udah ada di perempatan Braga ini ya, Dion ya.
Right
Di sebelah
side.
sana tuh ada
In right
Braga
side,
panjang sebutnya.
it's called
Yang sebelah sini ada namanya Braga pendek.
short
Nah, kira-kira
Braga,
teman-teman tahu
and
nggak
in the
sih
left side it's
sejarahnya
called long Braga.
Jalan Braga?
Because Jalan Braga is
Jadi katanya dulu itu
pretty long
disebutnya
and
bukan
had
Jalan
so
Braga,
many
tapi
heritage building
Pedati
collection.
Way. Kenapa sih disebut
You
Pedati
see,
Way?
most of them
Jadi
is
nanti kita tanya sama Kang Adi
still original.
Oh, bukan.
Yeah, and still
Kang
function
Bagus
as
Adi dari Bandung Heritage ya. Nah, terus teman-teman bisa lihat sendiri di sini.
So, and our government
Apa sih?
try to make it more fun by placing some
kita udah ngasih properti buat selfie.
installation to get a selfie and
masih terjaga keasliannya.
in
Terus
the
ada banyak bangunan heritage
Jalan Braga.
Dan di sini teman-teman pasti udah tahu ada salah satu restoran yang masih berdiri dari tahun 1920-an. Kira-kira restoran apakah tersebut?
Gonna reveal it in the quiz. So I think
jawabannya.
Let's start the quiz now.
Ya udah deh, kalau gitu kita bakal lanjut jalan.
Priska, you're muted. Priska, can you unmute, please?
Okay, true or false, Jalan Braga are used to be known as Pedati Way. I already revealed the answer actually, so yeah, this is very interesting. Pedati Way or horse cart road. So, okay, let's reveal your answers. And yeah, of course, 85% says true, but is it true? And the answer is yes, it's true. Let's ask let's ask our Galileo, Mr. Tubagus Adi.
Ya, kalau lihat kan yang paling lama di Bandung sebelum jalannya nama The Gerutu Postway. Yang memenang dari hanya sama pendudukan The Gerutu Postway itu 1810. Nah, Braga sih mulai berkembang karena sekelilingnya kan ada Planal Painters, para pekebun-pekebun itu. Mulai dari kopi, Cina, sama teh itu ada sekitar hinterland Bandung lah gitu. Nah, Braga juga ada karena dulu sebelum namanya Jalan Braga, namanya Jalan Pedati Way. Karena dari Gerutu Postway itu, Jalan Raya Pos itu, mereka pada datang bawa hasil-hasil perkebunan, mereka menuju gedung balai kota sekarang.
Yeah, so it called Pedati Way because it used to pass by planters by pedati or horse cart. Okay, next destination. Next destination, we are going to kota.
Hai, sekarang tebak deh kita
Purnama dulu.
Jangan dikasih tahu dulu.
Ya udah ya.
baru ketemu di sini. Ya udah, untung kita ketemu ya. Kalian langsung ke balkot ya tadi.
So we are going to this is a city hall of Bandung. It have a large park. You can see there is so many trees and flowers, and this is the building for
yang
Wali
besar
Kota
balai
where to
kota
walk.
dan sekaligus menjadi tempat kerja
And this is interesting because City Hall in Bandung or Balai Kota used to be some building who are don't expect it this way. What is it? We're going to reveal in the quiz. Yeah, but let's take time for enjoy the beauty of City Hall Park.
nanti di sebelah sana ada labirin itu ya, teman-teman. Taman labirin. Terus ada patung badak putih juga. Terus habis itu ada berbagai tanaman. Oh iya.
Oh, there are my quiz. Okay, let's begin the quiz. Are you guys nervous? Because I am. Gimana nih, Wak? Yeah, let's start the quiz. Where's the question? Gak ada. Oh my God, the question is gak ada. I will. Oh my God, this is so funny, yes? Okay, I will read the question for you. So, can you guess, before it functioned as City Hall, Balai Kota is function for A medicine warehouse, B, a house for a king house, a house for a king, C, a restaurant, or D, a coffee warehouse? You can drop the answer in the chat session. No. In chat apa? Chat box. I'm sorry. Okay. B? That's good. Okay, I will repeat the question. Before it functioned as City Hall, the Balai Kota functioned as a, oh my God, I've already forgot the option. So let's just reveal the answer, okay? So the answer is, oh my God, ke ini, kecepatan, Wak. Yeah, yay! And the answer is a coffee warehouse, right? I mean, I don't expect this is a coffee warehouse. That was a coffee warehouse. So here's the explanation.
Mereka menuju gedung balai kota sekarang. Dulu itu namanya kopi pakis kan gitu, gudang kopi kan gitu. Nah situ kopi teh segala macam juga di packing sebelum itu dimasukin ke disebar ke beberapa tempat kan gitu.
Yeah, so before it functioned as City Hall, it's coffee warehouse actually, where the planters drop the coffee, the tea in the warehouse, and then to be packed and distributed to be sold around the world. Yes. Next destination. This is the last destination, I guess. You can scan it right now. We are heading to Kopi Purnama. Yeah, okay. This is very interesting because this is old coffee shop in Bandung since 1560. Yes, since 1560. It's called Kopi Purnama. They sell, old classic coffee with some toast bread, with some toast, and then kudapan. What is kudapan in English? My Mariki, can you help me? Snacks. Okay, snacks. And kudapan, And then, yeah, because we are in a COVID, so we have to agree to using the healthy protocol. Wash before, wash hands, and I'm using face shield in here. You can look, the interior is still original, and they hang the old beauty Bandung Tempo Dulu. Yeah, this is the terrace. It's it's pretty crowded here because I came in a weekend. So yeah, people are start breakfast in here, and enjoy the coffee, the tea. That is, if you know, there is a picture for the family. So this coffee shop is running by family business. Yeah. Okay. It's so beautiful. The tile is also very beautiful. Yeah, I'm going to, yeah, this is the first, what do you call, reclaim board for Kopi Purnama. And it
legendarisnya ada roti
yeah.
kaya dan kopi hitam.
Okay, so we are going to order some the best specialty in Kopi Purnama. In Singapore or Malaysia, maybe Kopi Purnama can call Kopi Tiam. Yeah, just like Kopi Tiam.
Terus selain
Look at those bread, this fluffy bread. Okay, let's start the quiz. I wanna ask you guys about the get. Oh my God.
Kopi yang paling kamu
Okay, let's start the quiz.
Aku sebutin aja deh. Ini ada kopi susu, kopi susu panas. Ini ada es kopi susu. Ini ada.
Please reveal the question. What is the most authentic menu in Kopi Purnama that Rizka and friends ate? A is roti telur or egg sandwich. B is roti srikaya or srikaya bread. C, roti palm sweeker or sandwich with palm sugar, or roti sosis or sausage sandwich. Please guess. You don't have to be right. It is for everyone. Yeah, oh my God, yeah, the answer is keep coming. Okay, I think that's all. Yeah, everyone is vote already. Let's reveal your question. Your answer. Yay! 53% call answer roti srikaya or srikaya bread, and 40% is roti plum sweeker or sandwich with palm sugar. And the answer is srikaya bread. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is srikaya bread. This is homemade srikaya bread made with original recipe since 1930. So this is very famous in Kopi Purnama. It has fluffy toast with yummy, sweet, and smooth jam, srikaya jam. It's very, very good. If you go to Bandung, you have to try this one. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Yeah, I think that's it for this. Loh, kok ada lagi nih? Okay, I think it's finished. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to move to Kahoot quiz after this.
Thank you, Rizka.
Are you ready, guys?
The first part. Yes, we're moving to the second part, Kahoot quiz.
Yeah. So playing with your smartphone is better for your better experience and more fun. Please open at www.kahoot.it, and the game pin is 7002679. Okay, Sienna already in. Oh, come on. Okay, and Coke. I call Coke. Okay. Hello. Oh, Ajam. Ajam already in, everyone. Yeah. Nevi juga. Halo, Nevi. Ikur. Thank you, Ikur. Mbak Meriki juga is already in the game. Rofi. Okay. Catherine, thank you. Sabe dan Faye. Hello. Okay. Did everybody want to join? That's it? It's okay. Oh, Ira and Stella, thank you. And W. Yeah. The question is it's very easy, and you don't have to be right. We just for having fun in here and yeah, get some trivia quiz. Sekar, hello Sekar Rizka fans. Oh my god. Hello. Hello. Yes. Okay. Can we begin? Oh, 1 minute again. Okay. Maybe your ada. Okay. Halo, Mbak Sekar. Apa bentuk aku Mas Andre Medan mau bukan nggak Mas Andre Medan? Lili, Luciana udah. Okay, let's begin. Yeah. 2, 1, go. This is the word called. Your favorite coffee is? Okay, you just type any kind of coffee in your country. This is cappuccino. And we have some answering here. So, 30, 40. This one and know what your favorite country is. Okay, so we better. Okay, cappuccino ya, espresso, magic, chili decaf, aroma, latte. Yes, latte is good. What is your favorite latte? Who is the answer latte? Pandan latte, kapal api. Okay, I think it's just Indonesian people who knows kapal api. Yes, Americano is also good. I wanna ask someone who favorite is kapal api. Who is apa sih bahasa Inggrisnya, gue mau ngomong apa nih? Kapal api is the brand of Indonesian coffee. Thank you Bu Widi for explanation. Ya, pandan latte, siapa yang jawab pandan latte? Who is the answer for pandan latte? Okay, yes, someone. Okay, next question. This is variety of coffee, right? Open-ended. What kind of coffee that you know? What kind of coffee? For me, honestly, I just know Arabica and Robusta. Maybe you can share with us new kind of coffee. Oh. How about Americano? What type of coffee? Americano. Yeah.
What type of coffee? I'm not a coffee expert because I don't drink coffee. Sorry, I answer decaf because I drink tea.
Oh, it's okay. I also drink tea as well. Yeah, it's 10 answer submitted. Okay, let's show the answer. Black coffee, yay! Oh, this is very interesting. Kopi Gao and Kopi Siu Dai. Kopi Si. I already
Yes, I
heard.
know this from Singapore.
Oh, okay. And then Americano, latte, flat white. Wow. Cappuccino, macchiato, espresso. Wow, this is the coffee that I know from cafe menu. Arabica, Robusta, Gallo. Wow, there is a variant type of coffee in this world, I guess. Starbucks, kopi O, kopi ABC susu. Ya, kopi susunya ada yang mocha. Okay, next question. Let's move to next question because you don't want to see me dancing, right? True or false? Arabica has more content, acidity, taste than Robusta. Okay, true or false? We already bahas ini tadi ya. Apa bahasa Inggrisnya aku lupa.
We already discussed this before.
Oh yeah, we already discussed it before. Thank you. Arabica has more content, acidity, taste than Robusta. True or false? Wow, the timernya kepanjangan, Pak. Oh, it's okay. So, the short answer, let's reveal the answer. True or false? Oh, yeah, it's false, everyone. It's false. Yeah. It's false. Oh, it's false. It's false. I think it's right.
I thought it's true. We already discussed this before.
Oh, I think it's true. Arabica is more acidity than Robusta. Okay, guys. I think it's Kahoot false.
Kahut's mistake. So yeah.
I think it's Kahoot mistake. Okay, next. Let's move on to the next question. Wow, Bu Ira, it's already in the top 5. True or false? The original coffee bean from Java is Robusta coffee. Robusta or Arabica? The original coffee from Java, from West Java. I think we already discussed about it in Kopi Makna Cafe. Okay, let's reveal the answer. Let's reveal the answer. Yeah, it's true. It's Robusta coffee.
Yay!
Who's got it right? Who's got right? Who's got right? Yeah, Mbak Meriki is right. Butita is right. Sienna also right. Feisha is also right. Yay! Okay, next question. Next question. We're going to move next question. Oh, whoa! Mbak Rofi is already the top scoreboard. And Nevi, Stella, Teh Ajeng, and Bu Ira. Wow! Okay, next question. Wow, apa cuman gue doang yang ngos-ngosan. The combination of Robusta bean and Arabica bean called Robusta, Arabusta, Liberica, or lazy coffee. The combination
Lazy coffee
of Robusta and Arabica. This is very tricky, I guess. Yeah, Robusta is, I think it's true. Arabusta is also true, but it's weird. Oh my God, I'm stressed. This is very difficult. It's difficult more than mathematics. Okay, reveal the answer. Reveal the answer. Can we reveal the answer, please? It's lazy coffee.
Oh.
It's not Liberica. Oh, it's lazy coffee.
Oh, I didn't know there's such thing as lazy coffee.
So in Indonesian, the mix of the Arabica and Robusta called lazy coffee. You can buy it lazy coffee in Kopi Aroma. You can just sir, we want to buy lazy coffee. Lazy coffee is Kopi Malas, is lazy.
Kopi Malas.
Yeah, people back then used to very lazy to, sort the bean and just mix it up. Arabica and Robusta, just mix it up, and it's just, it's lazy way to mix the coffee. I don't know, but that's very that's people say it. Oh, Teh Ajeng is already memimpin, and Rizka fans, whoever you are, Rizka fans, you are rock. Thank you. Keep going. Keep going. Next question. Lazy cat, yeah. Best snacks with coffee. Oh my god, this is very interesting. Best snacks, maybe best match with coffee. There is is this fritters and then rice or toast? Wow, what is or ice cream? I think I already. Maybe you guys try avocado. This is difficult. I don't know. Maybe rice or the red one is fritters, right? Gorengan. Okay, let's answer. Let's reveal the answer. I don't know. Maybe with rice. Does anyone drink coffee with rice? Mix it up with rice? No. No. Okay, let's reveal the answer.
The red one is
Fritter.
Oh, it's fried fritters snacks that's very popular in Bandung.
Yeah, thank you, Pameriki, for the. Yes, that's right. The fritters and the toast is very popular in Bandung. The food, the snack, the best match for enjoying the coffee. Yeah, okay. I think kalau the toast kayaknya semua juga setuju ya. Tapi kalau fritters is very local in Bandung or in Indonesia, I guess. Okay.
Oh, I think Sienna, do you drink coffee with cookies? Sienna answered no cookies.
Fritters, are they vegetable or fish based? Oh, there are so many variants of fritters. Sometimes it's vegetable, sometimes it's fish paste with many flowers, and sometimes it's from tempeh. Did you guys know tempeh from
soybean?
Soybean, yeah, soybean, fermented soybean, and then fried.
Yes, it can be tempeh fritters, it can be banana fritters, it can be vegetable fritters.
You are making me hungry. Yes. Yeah, me too. I already hungry. I want to drink coffee with rice. Oh, no. Not the best idea. Okay. Fritters gorengan. Yeah, yes, Butita. Fritters gorengan means fried food, usually temperature. Yeah. It's already on the top scoreboard. Wow. And Catherine, Jajan, Rofi. Hey, hello, Rofi. And Stella. Yeah, keep going, guys. Keep going. Let's move to the next question. Jajan is on fire. Yeah. It's a photo of current Bandung City Hall, which was built in 1900. In ancient times, this building was used as we already discussed about it. Yup, it's hospital, coffee storage, governor house, or army base. This is the city hall that we're talking about. This is the city hall that we were talking about as beep, beep, beep. Whiz. Okay, let's reveal the answer. And the answer is it's true. It's coffee storage. We already discussed it. Yeah, so people pay attention. Yeah, thank you. Next.
Must be a lot of coffee.
We also have speak with, oh my god, speak cook is cookie with spices, with cinnamon and wow, I love speak cook. Butita also loves speak cook. Speak cook. Indonesian layer cake. Oh, stroop waffles is also good. Stroop waffles. Ya, oke. Wow, Bu Ira masih memimpin ya, Bu Ira, selamat. Oke. Masih Catherine, Jajan, dan Novi. Next. We're going to move fast. Who am I? I'm a mouse who can pick best of coffee bean. Okay, it's Bean. I guess it's not bean, it's bean. In the work. I'm sorry, Bu Tita. I'm a mouse who there's a small typo here, but it's okay. You guys already know that. Coffee bean in the world. It's a deer, raccoon, civet, or panda. I'm sorry. it's true. It's civet or luwak. So in Indonesia, there are kopi luwak or luwak coffee, luwak white coffee, white coffee. So people are usually bahasa Inggrisnya ternak apa ya, Bo?
They farm civet to produce civet coffee, which is sold for very expensive. And do you want to tell more about civet coffee, how it is produced? I think a lot of people know.
Oh yes, that is true, Sienna. Cat poop coffee, yes. Yes, that is civet. And the price is also high because the process is very difficult and complicated. So yeah, this is. Does anyone have tried the civet coffee or luwak coffee? Yeah, I think everyone. Yeah, this is it has very interesting taste. Okay, keep going. Next. We are still have. Oh, Catherine is the top scoreboard. Thank you, Catherine. And then Vira. Okay, next. 3 methods of coffee processing, except honey wash, house blend, full wash, or, okay, this is the local joke. I'm sorry, this is the roast band. Okay. No. Let's reveal the answer. 3 methods of coffee processing, except, yeah, that's very right and very true. Except the roast brand of course, because roast brand is the brand of the, rice.
Roast brand is the brand of rice flour that we use for cooking and making Indonesian snacks.
Yeah. Mbak Meriki. Okay, next question. Wow, Catherine still top on the board. The origin of coffee bean area comes from, so this is the coffee bean who very famous in the world. So what do you guys think? This is origin from where? West Java, Central Java, East Java, or Yogyakarta? I think it's for Mocha Java. It's from. We already discussed it, right? Reveal the answer. West Java. Yes, that's true. West Java. Catherine still be the leader in here. So, okay, let's move to the next question. Bye, Errol. This is interesting. This is the Uncle Ansiang. Uncle Ansiang, which is very famous in Indonesia. He lives not in Bandung, but in Pontianak. But what do you guys think Uncle Siang serves? Chicken noodles, teh tarik, or pulled tea, coffee, or oil? What do you guys think Uncle Asia sells or service? Okay, everyone is already answered. Let's reveal the answer. Yeah, that is true. The Uncle Asiang sells pulled tea or teh tarik and coffee, but his style is doesn't wear any clothes. So yeah, Pontianak had so many hot weather, so yeah, no clothes and pull the tea. Okay, next. Oh, Bu Tita is competitive. Oh, enggak ketang. Ya Bu. Which area in ancient time was used? Oh no, I got connection lost. Please do not refresh. Which area in ancient time was used as coffee storage warehouse in Bandung? We already discussed about it. Balai Kota and what? Balai Kota and Braga, Jalan Dago, Otois Pemerintahan, or Cihapit? This is very difficult and tricky, but this is, I think we are familiar with this photo. Oh, yeah, okay. Let's move. Yeah, let's reveal the answer. Yes, it's true. It's Balai Kota and Jalan Braga. So in Jalan Braga, there are so many old restaurants that sells coffee, cafe, cookies, and cake. Okay, let's next to the question. Move. Wow, I think Catherine is already be the winner. Rizka fans, come on, Rizka fans. Keep it up. Okay, next question. This is a city hall, or we call it as Balai Kota. Oh my God, we I think today them is Balai Kota as coffee warehouse. This is the other name of Balai Kota. The other name of Balai Kota is Pendopo, Balai Riung, the Fries, or Gedung Papak. It's tricky. Balai Kota, maybe Balai Riung. Balai Kota, Balai Riung, it sounds similar, or maybe Gedung Papak because it sounds papak. What is it? Okay, next. Let's reveal the answer. It's true. It's Gedung Papak. Yay! It's Gedung Papak. But I can itu gimana cara jelasinnya? Because the roof, the roof is shaped papak, or in English, what is it called? Flat. Yeah. The Dutch name is pakhuis, perhaps. Yes, but kata siapa nih? Kata Kak Adi. Because the roof is, the shape is flat, so in Sunda it's called papak or rata, flat. Okay, next question. Ada berapa lagi nih? We have 3. Whoa, Bu Ira. Okay, Rizka fans, keep going, okay? Keep going. Okay, next. Nice, Ira, back with answer is right. Since what year has the coffee been started to be grown in West Java? Hey, we already discussed it, yeah? I think it's 1789 or 1689 or 1900 or 1899. It's 69. There's already one answer. That's very difficult, right? It contains number. I hate number. What is content? It's Rizka fans. It's already. Who are you guys? I'm sorry. Oh yeah, that's okay, Katerina or Catherine. Wow. So the answer is apa? 900. Okay. Those two, the coffee shop used to call Chang Chong Se, which means have a try. What is name this coffee shop nowadays? We already discussed it. Kopi Purnama, kopi Cimang Ikin, kopi kapal api, kopi kapal selam, ya. Oh my god. Kopi kapal selam means apa ya? Underwater ship.
Submarine.
Oh, submarine. Oh yeah, the Beatles. Yes, it's Kopi Purnama. I need to leave. Thank Rizka, you are wonderful. Oh my god, Catherine, are you Rizka fans? You are wonderful, Catherine. Thank you. Thank you for playing with us. Yay. Okay, so Rizka fans are going. Who are you? Around Braga area, there are several authentic coffee shops that has been established for many years. Except Braga Permai, Kopi Purnama, Kopi Aroma, or Kopi Toko Jawa. Just guess it. Just try your luck. I think it's Kopi Toko Jawa. And the answer is Kopi Toko Jawa. Ya gitu. Yeah, so Kopi Toko Jawa before it came coffee shop, it was bookshop, and it sells many books. Iyalah, bookshop sells many books. So it's berdirinya established from I think 1920. In 1920ish. Yeah. Okay, that's it. I think we have just the last question. And yeah, thank you. The winner is Rizka fans. Guys, it's not me. It's not me. Oh, there is one more question. Okay, there's one more question. A second. Okay, second question. Second last question. Last two question. Okay. Java, which is famous for its quality coffee plantation called. Okay, I think. Just try your luck. Priyangan, yes, guys. How you guys are so smart? It's Priyangan. That's true. It's Netherlands. I think it's called from Netherlands area, colonial era, yeah. Okay, right. Okay, last one. Last question. Last question. Yeah, after you play this game, so what do you think about coffee? You can type your answer. I just want to know your opinion about coffee. Maybe, oh, coffee is very various. Coffee is very alive. Coffee is very complicated, I guess, because there's so many history behind it. Wow, there's already 6 answers. Yeah. Complicated is boy Rizka. Complicated is boy Rizka, not coffee. Well, sometimes girls too are complicated, right? Are you agree? Okay, so reveal the answer. Bah, 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah, so sour, strong, nice aroma, awesome, pahit. Ini pasti Bu Ira nih yang jawab nih. Bitter. I need one. Yay! Love lazy coffee. Nice and great. Yeah. If you come to Bandung, I will take you to lazy coffee, right? Yeah. Ini siapa lagi yang bilang? Okay, guys, thank you very much. Let's reveal the winner. And the winner, apa sih namanya? Get the prize. Ya, siap-siap ya. The winner will get the prize from us. And the winner in this game is... Yeah, top 3 is Rafi. Hey! Rizka fans. Oh my God, thank you. It's Ira. Oh my God. You guys, we will send you a good prize for you. So drop your address. Oh no, I will contact you for the address. Okay? Yeah, thank you so much for enjoying and joining the quiz Jalan Jajan virtual tour, the first time ever. Hope you guys. Oh, this is the book, and I will send you for the winner, Rizka fans, Ira and Rofi. Especially for Rizka fans, I don't know you, so contact me perhaps. Just forget it. Okay, thank you so much for everyone for joining us. See you tomorrow, I guess. Yeah, see you tomorrow. Bye. Thank you, Mbak Meriki.
Thank you so much, Rizka. That was fun. I hope you have fun playing Jalan Jajan game with Rizka. She's such a good host. Okay, so that is the end of our event today. I would like to thank all our speakers for the very inspiring talks. We have learned a lot from all the case studies in different places, and I would like to thank Rizka and her team for working so hard, preparing the hybrid Jalan Jajan game so that we can join from Singapore, Malaysia, UK, and Europe. Okay, so before we close this event, I'd like to remind you tomorrow we have another session starting at 9 a.m. Bandung time, which is 10 a.m. in Singapore and Malaysia. And it is like 9 p.m. in the US because we have speakers from America joining. All right, and so let's close this event with group photo taking. Have you prepared your sneaking snacking tools? Okay, can the admin put us on grid mode so that we can see everybody? Somebody from the admin, can you give us the comment or the go ahead so that we can take a photo? Okay, so 3, 2, 1.
2.
Okay, do we need one more screen? 3, 2, 1 again.
Wow. So everyone had coffee in their hands besides except me. Okay, thank you. Oh, besok aku bawa kopi ya.
Drinking lazy coffee. Okay, are we done? Have you taken all the photos? Yes, so thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much, Rizka. Thank you so much to all the speakers. And yes, please join our event tomorrow and goodbye.